This podcast is brought to you by Beijing 2008, the official video game of the Olympic Games published by Sega, available now for Xbox 360, PS3, and PC. Beijing 2008 promises to deliver the Olympic experience to your favorite gaming platform. Compete with up to 7 friends online or at home, and strive to break records and lead the U.S. team to victory in 38 authentic Olympic events. Superior graphics capture the fine emotional detail where a fraction of a second means the difference between winning and losing. Also, brand new gameplay mechanics challenge your time, speed, and coordination. Bring home the gold with the official video game of the Olympic Games in Beijing. In stores now. Visit olympicvideogames.com for more information.
All right, everybody, welcome to the One Up Yours show for Friday, July 25th. I'm Garnet Lee, and joining me today are Andrew Pfister, Shane Bettenhausen, David Ellis, and hopefully, provided that he arrives to fill the empty chair here, Mr. John Davison.
Depending on traffic.
Depending on traffic, and also he's at a board meeting.
Yes.
He's at a board meeting.
The Packers had their board meeting today.
Really?
Their shareholders meeting.
And
They don't want to talk about it.
There was a brawl. Blood was spilled. Brats were eaten.
Tension.
Fun had by all.
so
Palpable tension.
evidently the whole cell phone thing, about the Favre calls or whatever was just bullshit. So, I don't know. Maybe it's not quite so tense there.
When you can't trust Brett Favre, who can you trust?
Or maybe he's going to be the quarterback of the Vikings.
No.
Or the Bears. I scared Skip shitless last night. We were playing pool at a bar, and I turned and there was like a Chicago Bears logo on the top, and I was like, "Holy shit! He's signing with the Bears!"
Yeah.
But it was
Sports Center was on in the background with no sound. I turn over, I see the Bears logo. I'm like, "Oh crap!" It's a nightmare scenario.
What if Favre won the Super Bowl
with the
Bears? For the Bears,
they would close the borders of the state. It would be like no one gets in, no one gets out until we resolve this bloody
Bears.
conflict.
That would be pretty scary.
I don't want.
All right, so here's what we're doing on the show today. We're doing what you've been playing in the opening segment. Second segment, since I will be the first to agree with everyone that the Poolside, although fantastic podcast, was a little bit unguided.
A little bit awesome.
It was a lot awesome, but it was also a little bit unfocused. So we're going to actually do a actual focused E3 wrap up, put E3 2008 behind us, and then in the news we've got great stuff. We've got June MPDs. We have we have the top of the executive food chain for all 3 of the big console holders saying all kinds of funny stuff.
Yeah.
Dissing each other, and what else we got? And we got some a little bit of news from Game Fest. Let's get this thing rolling. Where should we start? Dave.
Yeah.
You're here.
Yeah.
What you been playing?
I had a preview up this week for Ghostbusters. I got a chance to play that recently. Got a chance to play the next gen or current gen versions and saw the Wii one.
Okay.
I'm glad they finally announced co-op. Oh wait, it's not been announced?
No.
Then fuck that game.
Who knows?
I call that game Ghostbuster until they announce co-op.
Well, they do have all the voices recorded, but like people were asking me like, what did it feel like to play it? And it plays just like you would think a Ghostbusters game should play, which is actually I think a high compliment. Like from throwing the traps down and grabbing the ghosts and the proton beams, slamming them in walls and stuff like that. It works really well, at least.
That part felt good.
Yeah, totally. And, it's funny. The writing's, interesting. And they've recorded everyone except for Bill Murray because apparently he is superstitious and won't actually sign the papers to do a deal until after he's recorded his stuff and he's happy with his work.
Wow.
That's not superstitious. That's just being... That's when you're the king. When you're king, it's good to be king.
He's going through a messy divorce. He's a very busy man.
Yeah, but the game looks better than I thought it would. Looks good.
Why do you say that?
I don't know.
Had you not seen it before?
No, I'd seen trailers, but
okay.
It was running really smoothly. They're doing an interesting thing with the HUD. You don't have one. All the information that you
that's the new hotness. I love that.
Everyone's doing that, but they have sort of an elegant solution where the backpack, the proton back, it's all like lights and stuff communicate whether your gun's overheating, whether if you're using the PKE meter to scan ghosts. It's actually the PKE meter scanning is kind of like Metroid Prime. So got a chance to play that for a little bit. And
elegant is the new compelling. What do you think? Elegant the new compelling?
Sure.
Overused?
No.
Here's the thing. I think what from looking at Ghostbusters, to me what they got right is they got the special effects on all of the signature Ghostbuster elements, whether it's Slimer or the traps or the proton packs. Everything looks almost identically the way it did in the film, and so whether it does or not, whether it's identical or not, it kicks off the right memory, and you're
Absolutely.
like, hell yeah, I'm frickin' Ghostbuster. It needs to have the S on the end.
It does.
Yeah. Agreed. But I think they're on the right track, and I'm looking forward to playing it some more in the next couple of months. So
Cool. Did they give you an idea any more firm idea of when it's coming out?
no, they're supposed to be announcing some stuff at Comic-Con this week, but they haven't yet as of this recording. So I mean, we'll see.
They had the big Activision and Blizzard meeting, board meeting. I think it was this week. And among other shocking surprises, guess what? Blizzard's going to stay its own independent studio. And
Shock.
And it wouldn't be prudent of them to tell them what to do since they already know what they're doing. Yeah, in other words, Blizzard said, yeah, we're doing what we want to do. Thank you. We don't care. Surprise.
I don't blame them.
Yeah, well, of course.
You don't want to upset your moneymaker, so.
And they're about to bring in another expansion pack that will just reignite WoW all over
Yeah,
again.
beta just hit this week. Some of the guys in the office are playing it.
Yeah, so there's some people checking it out. Damien was, of course, not even in the office today, suspiciously. Surprise. What do you think is going to happen to the MMOs that are starting to get a little bit of attention, especially like Age of Conan, when the WoW expansion pack comes out?
They will be ignored.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
You think it'll just immediately a pendulum will swing right back and everyone will chop back into WoW and then the Age of Conans will just dry up?
I don't think it'll dry up, but they'll have their hardcore still playing it. But everyone's going to want to play the expansion to WoW.
You don't think that? I mean, we just got beta keys for Warhammer, and that Warhammer's had a lot of attention behind it. It's the Dark Age of Camelot guys, big PvP emphasis. You don't think that would? You don't think
WoW's numbers are so huge.
WoW is WoW.
Yeah.
So it's just gonna.
It's unfortunate that it might fall under the radar like Age of Conan and Warhammer, but WoW is WoW.
I think there's a danger that those Conan guys will move to Warhammer.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that.
Three or four MMOs.
Your primary is going to be WoW, and your B team, your supplemental one, when you're tired of WoW, is going to be whatever.
Well, and there are probably some MMO players out there that just, for some reason, whatever, they just hate WoW and how popular it is. Yeah. So they latch on to whatever new MMO is, and they'll, like Shane said, move on to Warhammer.
Maybe
Makes
people
a lot of
tired
sense.
of Guild Wars, they'll move on to the
There is some definite striation developing in the audience. Lee Alexander, who does an excellent job of digging through stories and finding like the real root of them. There was a study that came out in the last week on MMOs, and it specifically was talking about pay MMOs versus free MMOs. And the upshot of this study was that they recommended that there be more free MMOs, but big surprise, people like free MMOs. But I think what they were really getting at, and what she pointed out, was that the microtransaction model, or sort of like what we kind of think of, I guess, as the Korean MMO model, really works great for the casual player. But everyone then points to World of Warcraft and says, but wait, look, there's like millions of people playing that. And what they pointed out is that that's a complete anomaly. Like, World of Warcraft lives in its own world, and no one has ever duplicated that sort of hardcore, even all different kinds of core. You got the casual, you have like the people who only play Warcraft. Like, they don't even play other games. Mm-hmm. They came in to play World of Warcraft, and they're just playing World of Warcraft, and they don't give a damn about anything else.
And that's why they're fine with paying $15 a month for it.
Right.
Because they don't have other fees that they have to play. They have to pay.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what happens with DC Universe Online. I mean, they're showing more of that at Comic-Con.
It looks really good.
It's PC and PS3, and that's new. It's a new.
You have to think that like when they showed Champions Online, which is basically sort of like Marvel without the Marvel characters. You have to think with the reception of DC Universe, maybe they're kicking themselves and then a little bit for just doing over the Marvel MMO.
I don't know. I think I think it's very interesting to see how the marketplace in moving to doing MMOs on console, like the two leading top properties are superhero games. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of challenges to making a superhero game. If you talk to guys who design MMOs, a superhero game presents a whole lot of interesting problems. Because if you're a superhero, I mean, it's sort of the same problem that they have with MK versus DC. You bring superheroes into a game, and they're supposed to be superheroes.
Right.
So how do you keep giving them things to do that superheroes would do?
And place artificial limits on them.
What's the fail state for Superman? He's fucking supposed to be Superman. Like, what? Like, oh, I'm sorry, it's Superman. Oh, that's right, kryptonite. Oh, we just bring in some kryptonite.
Well, and does Superman have to go kill rats in the sewer?
Right.
I mean, is that...
Who the hell's going to want to do that? I don't see that. I don't see that at all. It's very difficult. And then, of course, how many times can you go and stop, crime number 57 from happening? It's like, what are you going to redo? You keep redoing that crime. You're like, I'm Superman. I'm here to stop crime 57. I know what happens in crime 57.
It's the same problem like Star Wars Galaxies had, and same problem like Matrix Online. Everyone wants to play as the hero, but you can't have that.
Exactly.
Because if you do, you ruin it like
Yeah,
they did
you
in Star Wars Galaxies.
But then, of course, they had all the, because now we're talking about like the Jedis, right? I assume that's what you're pointing out. And they had such trouble trying to figure out how to integrate Jedis into the society that they were creating online, and they just wound up just butchering the whole thing.
Because
fell
everyone
apart.
wants to be a Jedi.
Right, but then when they made it difficult, the people who actually went through the work, of course, felt like they achieved something, and when they swung the pendulum back the other direction, they're like, what the fuck? You just totally worked us over.
Yeah.
Anyway. So we got off a complete tangent.
Yeah, I was going to say, also playing NCAA football with you the other night we played, and
Who won?
Garnet did.
I did.
Nice.
It was a close game until the end when I got interception happy, which is a story
You didn't
of my
get
life
no.
in
That was you got
football.
interception happy with Brian.
Oh,
Our
yeah.
game was pretty good back and forth.
Yeah, it was close, except for the completely broken special teams in that game.
So-
Garnet ran 2 kickoffs back for a touchdown. I ran 1. That should never, ever happen unless you're Bo Jackson and Tecmo Bowl.
College football is unpredictable.
College football is unpredictable.
Nice. Thank you, Andrew Pfister, spokesman for EA Sports.
I'm just saying.
The special teams, though, are an area that I think that football video games,
Video game football.
Video
with
game
Garnet
footballs.
Lee.
The footballers.
Those damn kids keep throwing the footballs in my yard.
so rewind. Football video games have always struggled in the special teams game, and I think you can see that in the punting game, and you can see it in or actually see it in all of the kicking game. And the problem with NCAA is that the run back team's blocking group is attacking the kick team way too far out in the field, and they're matching up almost perfectly every time down, which if you play football, it's almost a scrum. It's freaking freaks and idiots. It's very crazy.
You put your nut jobs on special teams.
Right, and they're not getting any of that. As a matter of fact, what's happening is that everyone's almost lining up perfectly in their lanes and then connecting with one another. And so if you just sit back there and you have a guy so I was playing Texas Tech, so I've got that kid who's like a Heisman Trophy candidate. I just sit there.
You mean number 46?
Number 5.
Yeah, whatever.
Number 5. I just sat back there and I watched the blocks line up, set them up, and I'm like, okay, if I can get these two guys
You don't
over
even
here.
have to do that, though. Like, you're overthinking it. In that game, you can do the fucking Tecmo Bowl zigzag and still run it back 30 or 40 yards every single time.
Are
Yeah.
you saying the AI is broken?
In special
Dude,
teams,
we're going to talk about how bad
absolutely is.
NCAA is broken. But before we leave the kicking game thing, the same thing has happened a lot of times in punt. I think that one of the things that the Madden team has not looked at well is they've always talked about how a lot of guys don't punt on 4th down in Madden.
Right.
And I think that it's as much sure, part of it is gamesmanship. Part of it is you're playing a video game and you're going to press your luck. But the other part of it is a lot of us know if you punt, you're putting your life in your own hands, because it's not like punting in the NFL where generally you get a 45 to 50 yard punt and a 5 to 10 yard run back. It's a 40 to 45 yard punt, and then if the dude gets past the one gunner who gets down there, suddenly he's got a 20 or 30 yard run back, which is it's not realistic.
Although that's less of an issue, at least it was when I was playing Madden, this year's Madden, compared to NCAA.
So they're starting to get that pegged.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good, because I want to. I mean, I'm a sim sort of guy, so I want. Well, that was weird. Whatever happened there. Andrew's tinkering with our new soundboard, which, by the way, is a Mackie board, which we kind of like the sound on, but he just totally made me sound different now.
You're on the wrong.
I'm on the wrong mic. Now I'm better. All right. Anyway.
And the worst
I lost my
flag,
train of
the
thought.
worst flag animation ever in NCAA football. It's so laughable. I should put a video up showing this off.
Every time Texas Tech scores, their thing is they have this big school flag that they have a flag guy who waves around, and it was maybe 5 frames a second. It was
Straight out of N64.
It was terrible.
It looked
It was
like a moon flag.
It was waving in fits and starts. It was like.
Well, and the rest of the animation looks really good. I sound really strange.
Andrew's now completely breaking the podcast. Oh my god.
You guys picked up the wrong mics.
Well, I don't know what mic did I picked up this mic that says Sennheiser on it.
I picked up the one that was in front of me.
Folks, this is real audio podcasting right here.
If only we were live streaming.
No fake shit. I wish we were live streaming. We should do that. We thought about it. Folks, I know
Yeah,
a
but
lot
then
of
again,
people-
remember our conversation in pre-show that couldn't have been live streamed.
Why?
That should have been live streamed.
Oh my god.
No, I'm talking about the pre-show before the camera went on.
It was pretty excellent. Yes.
Tales of strong legs and
Tales of strong legs.
tales
and,
of daring do.
and projectile poison darts.
Back to this football game.
Okay, so look, man, the bottom line with this football game is how horrible What happened? Like,
Yeah.
college football a year ago, actually, I had a pretty good time with.
Wait, didn't you guys both review this game and make it Game of the Month in ER Magazine?
No, we only so
I'm just curious.
without breaking a whole bunch of eggs and stepping on people's feet.
Yeah.
Right.
Because we now have the one man reviews.
Right.
Todd reviewed this game.
And only Todd reviewed it.
And only Todd reviewed this game, and he obviously liked it long time.
Well, and I was, I talked to Todd about it, and he
He didn't play it.
He played it.
He didn't play it?
He played it a lot.
He's a long-term fan of this
he
series.
played the hell out of it, but
He's also a bigger college fan than he is a pro fan.
absolutely, and
He's a huge college ball fan.
And he had a lot of fun with the Dynasty mode, playing that with a bunch of people. So, I mean, his main thing was the fact that the game, despite some of the glitches and stuff that we ran into, it addressed so many of his concerns from previous years that he sort of, felt like it deserved a great score, like what it got, A-.
So why do speed guys look like they're running through a bowl of creamed spinach?
I mean, I agree.
I mean, they're like their leg animations. It's like they're shoving against some sort of Jello or cream.
So-
I think cream spinach. That
So
was good.
as usual, is this game 1 year behind Madden in terms of tech?
Well, normally they kind of test out stuff in NCAA football.
It's kind of a twofold thing. Yeah, they test out some stuff.
Graphically, it's behind.
Right.
Yeah, it's
But
definitely
for like
behind.
feature sets, they test stuff out in NCAA football first. My favorite part, I was playing Virginia Tech, the Hokies, which is a kind of a wild turkey, I've been told. And I'm just saying, like every time I scored a
Gobble,
touchdown,
gobble, gobble.
gobble gobble, like plays over the PA system, and it was the stupidest thing in the world.
That's a terrible tradition.
It is a terrible tradition.
This giant purple turkey mascot was like dancing around with broken arms.
And what I realized is like some poor bastard mocapped this. He had to mocap the mascot dance.
It's probably the mascot.
Maybe
Wow.
that's enough time on NCAA football.
No, I mean there's like more stuff to it. I mean, so they did get some things right. There's some good tackling animations. There's a lot of good momentum based tackling. Like
Well,
like
one of
you
my
saw.
favorite things is you have this whole momentum system. If you're
Yeah.
playing at home, you can press in the left stick and make the crowd get louder or quiet based on what you want them to do. And then when you call a timeout, you can actually choose how you want to coach your team, whether you think they should be blocking better, they should go for stripping the ball, be aggressive in certain different areas. And I thought that was pretty interesting.
I thought that was pretty cool too. So
Yeah.
how disappointing is it then you get stuff like the runs where like I do a power move on you and I sort of glitch through your safety or something.
I think, I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of people are going to be trading in NCAA football for this year's Madden.
Yeah, and I think that it's a shame because I felt like last year Ncaa had made really strong strides.
It's definitely a step back.
You know, they had made great strides. They had added a lot more college campuses into their, they had real stadiums and the athletic facilities, and they were really starting to get that working. And I'm just not feeling it.
I don't understand how that stuff goes backwards. Like, you'd think after so many years of working on it and refining it, and like, how does it significantly get messed up like that?
Like, I mean,
New producer?
maybe.
Maybe.
I mean, I don't know. I don't.
It
honestly
just
don't know the
seems.
teams.
It just seems like it's needed another run through QA before it came out the door.
Well, so we do have news from Todd that there's
Right.
going to be that there's some fixes underway, but interestingly, they're not to fix
They're
the
not gameplay.
animations.
They're not
to
gameplay fixes.
or the weird slow motion running. They're Dynasty. I guess there's been some problems with Dynasty.
There's some glitches in Dynasty mode, and there's also some problems with when you download, because there's a new feature this year where you can download rosters from other people,
Right.
which is great if you want like player names. Because of NCAA rules, you can't have player names, you have numbers, but people will create custom rosters you can download from them, but they're having some problems with
So that's
that.
offline right now. It's been taken offline, and they promise that with their next update, they'll be able to get that back online, get you
But
back on.
by that point, Madden's going to be out. And
But there is again, when we talk about Todd, there is a college fan base.
Yeah.
And I think that I feel like they're going to be a little disappointed by this release.
We'll see.
So, who did Brian play when he played him?
Brian played. Well, he was
Ohio State, right?
No, Brian took it easy on me.
The Ohio State.
Yeah, I hate that. He was playing as Oregon, which has a very similar
Mighty
offense.
Ducks.
Very similar spread offense to
Dude, Texas Tech had. I'll give them this much. Playbooks, they had 14 different shotgun spread formations. I've never seen so many shotgun spread formations in my life. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was like, how many times was it? It had to drive you nuts on
No,
defense.
I don't mind it at all because I just was running a split defense myself, which I actually prefer running that over like a 4-6 or 4-3. So.
Were you running like nickel the whole time?
No, I was running a spread or a split defense the whole time.
What do you mean by
Shane has
split?
checked out.
I understand football thanks to John Madden.
Nice.
I learned football from Madden.
That was generous
Madden
of him.
92.
But no, there's like a split defense, which matches up pretty well against the spread.
Like a 4-4 or what?
It's I don't actually know what it is.
All right.
Well, and also, this game is huge. People forget NCAA is always in the top 10 every year.
Well, of course,
It's
because
huge.
people love their college alma
Yep.
maters, and it
Huge,
gets that
huge,
part
huge.
right. I mean,
Well,
so
not
is-
just my alma maters, but you have your favorite
yeah,
conferences.
yeah.
My alma mater's not in because we were 1AA. But I am an ACC guy, from the South, so I can pick Virginia Tech. Solid
That's right.
football program.
You love the North Carolina Tar Heels, right?
I fucking
about
hate the North Carolina Tar Heels.
How's the Duke football program?
1,600 on our SATs. Thank you very
Oh,
much.
wonderful. Does that translate into like 3 points during a game?
No, we just we manage the future NFL stars and take 15% off the
Hey,
top.
I'm just excited that Texas Tech is like number 12 in this game.
Oregon.
That's awesome.
Oregon is rated really high. Like when Brian picked them, they're like number 19. So
that's cool, and they have cool rivalry games, of course.
yeah,
they know all the
absolutely.
so
And Madden has that as well.
there's definitely reasons for college fans to be excited, but again, I still think it's gonna be a disappointment. All right, what else you play? Anything else?
I mean, I was playing Call of Duty 4 and Assassin's Creed, replaying Assassin's Creed, but
Okay, what pulled you into those two games?
well, Call of Duty 4 is. I have a lot of friends that play it. My brother plays it all the
I
time.
can see why he would easily get pulled back into Call of
Well,
Duty 4.
Call of Duty
It's
4
like
Call of Duty
Creed,
4 is
though.
still the most played online.
Why do I
shooter.
not
Not this week. Halo took it back.
Overall for the year.
Why do I not see you playing Call of Duty? You know what, if you'll probably kill me, but I would enjoy playing some Call of Duty 4
Actually,
again.
the best compliment I can give Call of Duty 4 is because usually when you haven't played a shooter in a while and you pick it up, like you don't do very well until like a couple hours. But Call of Duty 4, like every time I come back to it, like I fall right into it and like am very successful. And I think that's a testament to how well tuned like the basic shooting mechanics are in this game. Unlike some of the games we played at E3, which I had some issues with the controls, like Killzone 2.
Okay, I mean, like
Because like
did you? So people were giving me. People think that I hate Killzone 2
No,
first, and I don't hate Killzone
like, I
2
think-
at
I think
all.
Should we save this for the next segment?
yeah.
Well, yeah, we can save it for the next time. But anyway, I don't hate Killzone 2.
Right. But, I was playing Call of Duty 4, and, like, that game... I finally beat the single player. Somehow I'd never beaten the single player.
What difficulty?
I think it's, like, normal or whatever.
Hardened or whatever?
Whatever the medium, like, equivalent is.
Normal?
Yeah. But, like, it turns out I was only, like, 20 minutes from the end of the game, but just had never picked it back up and, like, finished it.
Yeah, there's some parts at the end, like going through the silo and stuff that are kind of just obnoxious.
Yeah, I mean, despite the fact that Treyarch has this stigma to them, I am looking forward to playing through World at War in co-op.
Really?
Because
in co-op.
in
Sure.
co-op, yeah, because I can imagine like Call of Duty 4. Can you imagine the carousel level in co-op? How awesome that would be!
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the way that level should be, actually. I mean, for the way it's
Yeah.
tuned, that's the way it should be.
you have one guy.
definitely.
Can you imagine a co-op level where one guy can't move at all? Like, I mean, it presents an interesting gameplay dynamic.
That actually
Like,
would be
you
really
really
cool.
have to trust the
If
person
you're
you're playing with.
injured McTavish, that would be really cool.
Yeah,
I like that idea. You should be a game designer. Obviously, you should be a game designer.
yeah. Oh, but I just saw Pixel Junk Eden, the demo hit, so everyone should go out and
You've been
download
playing that
I
already.
know, but like
You've been
now
totally
everyone
fucking
else
playing
can.
that.
Share the love.
I
Everyone gets to
think
play
that
it.
game.
Have you gotten to the 6th level?
No, fuck no.
Dude, the
I
fucking
haven't played
6th
it
level
nearly
is
as
on
much as you
6th
have.
level. Have you gotten to the 6th level?
No.
There's like wind blowing. So this is one of the things that's really cool is you've seen the first few levels, but they do introduce some other creative angles to the game. The 6th level has like a wind blowing through it. So as you're trying to jump and swing through the level and get to the different pollen
Right.
packs, spores,
Yeah.
you have to compensate for the wind. And it's blowing it very, and, it'll be like coming through it as a gust, then it'll like back off. All in time. It's all going with the music and like the backgrounds. It's so good. So freaking good.
Yeah, I think it's getting released next week on the 31st.
Next week, yeah.
Yeah, so like that's a day one purchase for me.
Oh, dude,
Like,
Pixel Junk
definitely.
Eden is by far a high watermark. Definitely. High watermark. Really, really well executed. Good idea. Simple concepts. Great execution.
And one last little thing, I probably can't talk about it. I'm not sure if you guys have played. We got Bionic Commando Rearmed.
It's been playable
in
before.
it's been
You can
playable.
talk about it.
we got both PS3 and 360 builds. And, PS3 like supports remote play, and I can't really go into like how that works. But just the D-pad and the PS3 controller, like I would buy the PS3 version over 360.
If you're doing
I
the
was
D-pad
playing.
game.
I was playing both of them, and like that game's interesting. I kind of dig what they've done with it. So
It's great.
Next
Yeah.
week will be good for downloadable releases. Geo Wars 2 comes out next
Yeah.
week.
Yes,
Yeah,
it does.
yeah.
They moved it up a week.
I'm excited
So-
about that.
And next week, Soul Calibur hits, and we'll be on retail, and we will all be like playing the hell out of that. I think we need to like establish an Office platform because I need to buy a stick.
PS3. Like, the sticks available on the PS3 are better.
Yeah, I
like,
think-
you have the Hori, like, Dead or Alive stick, which is basically the same
Right.
thing. They have Soul Calibur, but, like, the sticks, the variety of sticks you can get on PS3 are better.
I think most people are choosing PS3 because
Darth Vader-
Vader's cooler than Yoda.
Okay.
Much better than you.
I want to do Yoda because Yoda's cool, but I will do that because I want to be on the same platform that everybody else is playing.
Right.
So I'm getting it. So I'm.
Well, I
getting
know Ryan, Matt, myself, Shane, we're all getting on PS3.
So what PS3 sticks? You'll tell me which stick to get.
Well,
Yeah. I mean, ones you have to order them
they're
from
really hot.
PlayAsia,
I mean,
but
That's
do you
fine.
want
PlayAsia's
to
cool.
spend $140?
no,
on a stick?
I can get them a really good one for like $80.
Yeah, I mean, there's different grades. Like the highest grade.
I know a guy.
You want a toe? I can get you a toe.
By
With
3
nail
o'clock.
polish. By 3 o'clock.
I'm good with 80. I'm good with 140.
80's enough stick for you.
Yeah.
I don't even need 140. It's too much stick.
Too much sticks
Too
for
much
Shane.
stick.
You know what? I'm actually really more concerned about the buttons. It's got to have great
It's
buttons.
real arcade parts. It'll be fine.
It's got to have nice, good feel on the tops.
We
of
actually
them,
have them
really
in
good
the
rebound.
office, like the one I've ordered. So.
Is it the black Virtua fighters?
No, those are like almost impossible.
Those
to
are
find.
out of print and more than those are closer to $100.
But it's almost exactly the same stick, same button, same stick, just has a different color.
I got to play Age Account. I'll hook that up.
Yeah.
All right, PS3 it is.
Yeah, that's the game that's getting me back into fighters. So
Oh,
totally.
what do you like? I actually find myself the more I've played around. First of all, the guys who are doing our guide are
Amazing.
sick.
We have really hardcore.
When that super guide hits,
Yeah.
that's seriously. I'm going to be on there every day trying to learn how
These
to
are
play
like
the game right.
hardcore competition Soul Calibur dudes.
Well,
and,
the tournament champion guys.
Well, they've been working on it for weeks.
yeah, they're breaking down each characters into such minutia. It's like, so if you execute this move on this frame, moving this direction, and oh my god.
The only sad news is the game came out early. People bought it
Right.
last week, and
That's fine.
everyone's kind of saying that online play is pretty much as crappy as we expected. it to be.
I played it online today. We got builds.
in the office playing against somebody 20 feet away. Oh, surprisingly good. But from people,
Well, as long as I can play it with
For
within
people
a couple of states, I'm fine.
well, for people who are playing it, they say if you're in a different city, prepare for latency.
I will say
Like,
we couldn't we couldn't GI at all.
Right, and that's a
online.
big problem. I mean, we all knew that some magical thing hadn't occurred that made online fighting games suddenly work. And as always, latency and lag are going to be your enemy. And in a game like this, with guard impacts, with pinpoint precise controls, online play is not a substitution for real versus play.
No, it's not. But it is an interesting and fun way to play it casually.
Well,
I played Dead or Alive that way. I mean, I played a lot of.
I mean, if you don't take it seriously, because the other problem is people are disconnecting, and there's no penalty for
yeah,
disconnecting.
you can't
Really?
take it seriously.
So
No
yeah,
penalty?
if you thought Soul Calibur Online was really going to be
It's not
an
gonna fix
arcade experience, it is not.
Yeah, you can't quite get there. Right? I mean, not with the internet.
I mean, I'm happy
infrastructure we
it
have.
exists, but I'd probably rather just be playing at home.
Did you play any? Did anyone else other than me play any Dead or Alive online?
I played a little bit, and it was so laggy, I found it worth.
So they eventually got it to a point where it was laggy but not unplayable, and especially if you played, you kind of got accustomed to it, and it was fun.
And the DOA, I mean, unless you're playing DOA 4 the real way with all the reversals and
Right.
counters, but if you just want to mess around, it's fine.
Exactly.
Honestly.
So that's what it was fun for. It was fun for when you didn't have folks over at your house and you just wanted to hop on and play a game against a real person, so it wasn't the same AI as the computer throws at you all the time.
Yeah.
It was fun.
But I think we all still dream of perfect online fighting games.
Well,
That won't happen until we all have fiber internet.
Yeah.
It's long.
dude, I have my fiber different kind of fiber. So I have fiber every morning.
Well, you have to at your age.
I
yeah,
know.
you gotta
That's
keep
right.
that brand.
Grape nuts.
Fiber and soy milk. It's good stuff.
little Centrum Silver.
Clean the
helps to-
pipes.
Clean the
Little
tubes.
Little Metamucil.
All right.
So what have you guys been playing?
So I played the NCAA with you. I played Sleep over the weekend after E3. Sleep was a
I beat that game.
it was
a
a
really good
AAA
game.
title that
I can't wait till the sequel tonight.
I give Sleep an A. And then I also the other day I took home Civ Revolution on 360, and
Apparently, it's a huge hit, selling out all over.
I could they're repressing it, and I can
Wow.
I can absolutely understand why. So as someone who played, the last Civ I was really hooked on was Civ 2. I mean, I played some Civ 3, but Civ 2 was one of those. Watch the sun come up in the morning and Suzanne walk into the computer room and be like, "You're still up. You're an idiot. What the hell are you doing?"
I understand the Civ obsession because most of my friends growing up were among those people. And I'd watch them play Civ all night.
It's
and I'm
so
like, all right.
one more turn. It's like
Wait, what's more sad, the person playing Civ online all night, or the person watching them play it all night?
This was 1988 when I was busy downloading ASCII porn of Deanna Troi. All right, and that took 7 hours.
Hot.
wow, that was
little.
alt Star Trek.
What were you doing?
Fetishes.
What were you doing in 1988?
Let's not play this game.
Yeah, you had that instant binary decoder. Anyway, was like decoding it right there.
But
in
like
the
secret is everybody loves Civilization. I mean, people forget that. Like everyone loves
Absolutely.
Everyone loves it.
Absolutely. Although I will say, like on the PC side, actually, maybe my most favorite of those games was Alpha Centauri. I thought it was Alpha Centauri. I really liked Alpha Centauri.
I
But
remember the hint book was like 1,000 pages.
Anyway, what works for me about this is especially now in doing what we do, and wanting to play more games and having so little amount of time, is to me, like I sat down and played a couple of nights with about an hour and a half each time. It flows so well. Like the pace of the game is.
Can you jump in, jump out whenever you want?
Yeah. You just save off.
Save your game state.
What about the interface?
The interface is that's probably my favorite part about it. I'm playing on 360, and it's so easy to use the bumpers and the triggers to quickly jump through all the different menus. Like, you want to see what's going on in your cities? Right bumper, right bumper, right bumper, right bumper.
You don't wish you were using a Wii pointer?
No, not at all. As a matter of fact,
even with Wii Motion Plus.
No.
So I think that part of it, there's that part of it, and then just the flow of it. It's moving at a pace where I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to actually finish my first game in like 3 or 4 sittings.
It's much faster than the PC Civ 4.
And I don't feel like, and I'm sure there's stuff that's been dumbed down and removed out. Like one of the things you said, Andrew reviewed it for us. What'd you give it, by the way?
I gave it B+.
Yes. So you really liked it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You said that one of the things is that the AI comes after you really early.
Yeah, and you can't really have any defensive alliances like you could in the PC version.
Do you think that's because the AI isn't thinking about as many
I don't know,
steps forward?
Maybe they just wanted it to be faster and more action-y because it's the console crowd.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't have the patience for like the 6-hour, 7-hour, 8-hour games. So that
makes sense.
That was my theory behind it.
It also seems to me like it would work in multiplayer because of the way it moves.
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's
that could be great.
It's the speed and it's the map size because there's only one map size. You can't have like huge maps. You can only have that one preset size.
So how big is that map? Because I've only started exploring. I mean, I think that I'm about I've discovered like the islands that I started on, a continent to my east, and a continent like to my northwest.
They do a good job of randomizing the terrain, but they cram in I think maybe 5 or 6 other civilizations in there. So right away you're like knocking on your neighbor's doors and competing for territory. So, and that's when
But that's good because it means it very quickly gets into that. Wow, that is a hat and a hold on. John Davison walked into the studio and he has the most fantastic hat.
That is a smart and sassy Kangol cap.
Was that
that is fucking brilliant.
Was that a gift from Meredith?
Wow. Meredith Vieira is like, Hey John, you turned out okay. Here, I bought you this hat.
John, you turned out
This is John Davison's first return to the show after his triumphant debut on the Today Show as the hero of gaming.
I was looking for your green room.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Did you need someone to do your hair and your makeup?
He was looking for the fluffer.
Don't worry, John. You turned out okay.
No.
Aww.
And you weren't at E3, John Davison.
I wasn't at E3.
So the next segment,
Zoe was there.
I saw Zoe. But next segment, when we talk about E3, you'll be all excited to hear about it.
Well, or not.
To some extent, yeah.
Andrew's trying to suss out which microphone he put on because we completely bollocksed the whole affair. We picked up the wrong headsets.
We'll fix it at the break.
We'll fix it at the break, evidently. Anyway, we were just talking, by the way, about Civ Revolution.
Oh, excellent.
How timely of you. There he is. Now I can hear him.
Yeah.
Hello.
How timely of us.
I've been playing a lot of Civ Revolution.
But you've been playing it on the DS.
I have, yeah. And it is, as far as I can tell, the entire game only in 2D, which I think is sort of better.
So it looks like the old PC games. Like
it's
Civ 2.
spot on. I mean, it has everything. It has all the different... I'm kind of going right into it here. Sorry.
That's the way it works.
Yeah.
You've done this before.
All of the possible outcomes, so like the diplomatic outcome or the technology, I mean, like everything that seems to be in Civ Rev on 360, it's right there. And DS UI is perfect for it, obviously. And
so I should Amazon this like tomorrow morning.
$29.
So you don't have any problems with like the low res screen on the DS?
No, it's good. I mean, the units. They're very iconic on the bottom screen, and the top screen is where, it sort of moves things backwards and forwards, and then you get all the combat on the top, and it's very cartoony, which it's not in the 360.
Yeah, but that reflects how they're really into their animation system in this game. I mean, I think I perceive that one of the things they targeted in making Civ a console game was having a more glossy presentation, having animated fighters that go in and jump and attack and all that sort of stuff.
And the whole way the world is represented on the 360, I mean, it's there's a lot of glam to it, but it's not necessary. I mean...
No, but it looks good.
And it works really well with the controls. But, I mean, again, on the DS, it's perfect because everything is... I mean, you don't actually... The other thing I like about it as well is depending on where you're playing it and how you're playing it, you don't actually have to touch the screen ever if you don't want to.
Oh, really?
You can play it entirely touchscreen, and it uses single and double taps on units. But if you want to use the D-pad and the A and B buttons, you can play the entire game with 2 buttons.
Oh, that's smart.
Which is great, because very often, like when you get up to the point where you have, like, 5, 6 cities that you're managing, and you're managing like 20 or 30 units out in the field. You cycle through the cities with the shoulder buttons, and then you just tap left and right on the D-pad to go through the units, and it's like super fast.
Simple,
it's fantastic.
They got the interface so right. This was you just mirrored the talk I was having like 5 minutes ago about how I really liked the interface. It was so smooth and easy to get through my cities and my build queues.
And the fact that on the DS, it's you manage. Emphasis on resource. Everything is always mapped left and right, so it's like actions are on the left, and then more resourcey things are on the right. And
Makes sense.
And it works that way for whatever you're doing, whether you're managing a city or you're managing anything else in the game. You always know where the type of activity is managed. So, I mean, the only thing I ever had to look at the manual for was the stuff for gathering the resources that are in the field. So, like, you'll explore an area, and there'll be a giant anvil in the middle of a field. And I'm like, am I supposed to walk over it?
That's historically accurate. That's how blacksmithing was.
Yes,
covered.
my Japanese regime, I sent out a bunch of samurai, and they found an anvil and half a cow, and what looked like a dartboard, and I wasn't really sure what that was about.
What was the dartboard?
I can't remember. And then there's like, and a glass of wine.
Oh, yeah. Excellent.
Nice.
And so they drank it, and then the rest was history.
They cooked the cow and had a good time.
Yeah.
I think it's very cognitive if you've played Civ before. I almost expected a little more hand-holding in the tutorials at
Has
the
anyone
beginning.
spoken to Luke about this? Because I was raving about Civ on DS, and he went out and bought it, and then immediately pinged me and goes, what the fuck are you talking about?
Well.
But I think you need to, and if you have some history with Civ, it really helps.
Right. Yeah.
Plus, I think, you probably talked about this already, but the fact that it is tuned for 2-hour games.
Really? Yeah, absolutely. That was one of the things we hit on right off the bat.
20-hour, epic, long, oh my god, I fucked up 10 hours ago. I need to start again. This is like, you really can bounce back from a major screw-up, particularly when you start playing in the early difficulty levels. You can stomp over anybody. But I think you very quickly realize where the sensitivities are on the map, and like you twig. What I was a little sort of off on was it sort of forces you down a confrontational path.
It does.
You get
to a point where the fastest path to victory is to beat the crap out of the Germans, usually.
So you're not like getting the 8 wonders of the world or whatever.
I tried that, but it's like, so I need and it's like one of them is you can attract. Is it like 18 like really significant people?
Yeah.
I'm like,
I need Ben Franklin.
Exactly. I need Ben Franklin and Albert Einstein and a couple of other guys I've never heard of, and that's going to take me 4 hours. Or I could go over here, build some barracks, send out some veterans, and beat the crap out of these people and win faster.
It's a more modern perspective on civilization.
And the way it handles politics is nice. It's like, if you're a democracy, you can't declare war. You just, go and make a lot of noise until something happens, and then it's not really declaring war.
Oh, it's a
police action.
Of course, not really declaring war, because they never actually do declare war. That's very clever of them.
And on the DS, it's a little, you can play and sort of forget the some of the finer management things. It's kind of like, you played SimCity on DS as well,
I
right?
did, yes.
And some of the finessing that you have to do in SimCity is done on some of the like the budgetary management screens, and
right.
And I think the DS version of Civ suffers from the same things, where you're playing through, and you'll be playing through as a either a dictator, you sort of become a dictatorship, or you develop a monarchy or whatever. And it says, you only change political system when the game reminds you that you can do that. But very often it's quite useful to on a turn say, oh, suddenly we're a dictatorship, just for this move.
Yeah. Promise, I'll switch back.
I'll hand my powers back.
I'm just gonna go and take over this city, and then it'll be a democracy again. Don't worry, it'll be fine. And you kind of forget you can do that.
Your government's very fluid.
It is very fluid.
It's very fluid.
And when we do like our boot, we always make a beeline for the little glass of wine in the field so we can develop booze.
Well, I was telling Garnet that the best thing to do is research your naval stuff first, and then get like a deep ocean vessel.
Yeah.
And the first person to find Atlantis gets like super
you get
bonus.
great stuff. And then what you do
You
is
get crystal skulls.
Yeah.
then you find all the cities that are near water and park a battleship next to it.
Yep.
And you can attack them with a guy with a bow and arrow.
Yep.
And the battleship will always put a salvo in first, just to soften them up.
You slowly whittle away the walls a bit.
Nice. So it's funny you brought up the thing about the time, because I had this conversation with Danny over the Totally Rad show. He got Revolution because I was playing, and he's like, "Oh, that sounds really cool." And he's like, "Now I want to go back and put Civ 4 back on." I'm like, "No, you don't. Think about it for a second."
If you want to go back to one, I would go back to 2 or 3, not to 4, because this is basically just a sort of funky version of 4, really. Don't you think?
Well, the reason he wanted to go back was he was thinking, well, wouldn't it be great to have all that depth? And I think the difference is that one of the things that really shines about this is it is a reimagining of Civ. It's a reimagining of Civ where the game plays much more rapidly, and it does take you down a more warlike path, but as part of the payoff for that is you get to play these games more rapidly, and you have.
I'm wondering if Civ will ever go back now. Much to
this is apparently a breakout hit, and
absolutely.
I mean, I think much to the dismay of hardcore, particularly PC strategy game fans, I think the success of this is that Firaxis and Ncaa are going to be like, well, maybe this is the way to take this franchise. And
couldn't they still do both?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they could. I think they could do both. I think it actually sets them up to do both, where they can do the hardcore version on PC. They can continue down the console line.
I think the hardcore
is what they're doing, and they could always do a PC port of the console game.
Right. I think the hardcore base for Civ is still pretty huge.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Turn that off just yet.
Did you play many of the sort of the narrower scenarios?
No, but they have this cool tab that I saw called Game of the Week.
Yeah.
And I was like, I thought to myself, so is this just have you explored that?
They'll lob out you're on Beta Centauri and you have a bow and arrow, and the barbarians aren't barbarians. They're like tooled up heavy tech. They have nukes and stuff like that. And so it'll set up these like really weird off balance scenarios for you, or it'll set up a thing where it's like, okay, go and take out this particular civilization. It's very focused, almost mission-based.
I like
this.
It'll
throw at you. So the way that it takes the end game from the main portion and uses that as a jumping-off point for setting up these really weird and wacky things. It's like, so you have 22nd century tech or whatever, and you've colonized a planet, and the locals are really primitive, but there's like 10 times more of them. That kind of thing.
I like this idea of a weekly game. This is something also that we saw in Rock Band 2, where they're going to have weekly challenges. This idea that you're connected to the internet, your console is connected to the internet all night, 24/7. Why don't we start really making use of that connection and dynamically changing the parameters of what's going on in the game and giving you new challenges, new reasons to come back into our game each week? It's cool stuff.
Did I walk into the middle of what you've been playing, or are you on something
Yeah, no,
else?
we're on what you've been
Okay.
playing. Actually, I'm done. That was it.
Okay.
So we've done NCAA football, we've done Civ Revolutions, and what else? And Ghostbusters.
Can I talk about Aurora Feint?
What the hell is that?
the iPhone game.
I've been told that I need to look into this because it's like Panel de Pon / Pokemon Puzzle League, but
do you know
free.
And do you know the twist?
It has fanciful medieval characters.
Well, it has fanciful medieval. But the really cool thing is, it's Planet Puzzle League. But when you turn the iPhone sideways,
Iwata is not happy now.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You turn it sideways, and it reorients the tiles. So if you can't line something up one way, you turn it, and it rotates the entire screen, and then you're moving on a different axis.
Is there such a thing as a versus online 2-player iPhone game yet?
Yeah, there's a lot of people working on it. But the cool thing about this is that it has this whole sort of World of Warcraft aesthetic thing going on, where it's all very kind of, beaten up iron and things on fire and sorceries, and so the sort of conceit of it is that the different tiles are different elements. So there's earth, wind, fire, water, and in the core mode, when you're building the lines of 3 or more, you're accumulating resources in each of those things.
It's sounding complex already.
It's starting to get complex, which you then go and spend in order to buy abilities that change the dynamic of the puzzle game.
Okay.
It sounds like that Lily may be a bit gilded for my taste. I don't know. We'll see. I prefer the simplicity of.
So if you can imagine Planet Puzzle League, but where it'll be like, okay, you have the ability to affect the dynamics of the puzzle, but in order to do that, you have to first buy the instructions for the ability, and then you play a faster, simpler version of Planet Puzzle League in order to pull it off. So it'll send you to go to sorcery school or whatever, and you have to eliminate everything on the screen in as little time as possible in order to learn the spell. And if you let everything get up to the top, the way you do in Puzzle League, then you've actually wasted having bought that ability. So it's trying to make it a little more but at its heart, it's Planet Puzzle League, but it works on 2 planes.
Well, I'm definitely intrigued, especially for free.
And apparently there was the sort of end game idea is that they're going to be iterating on the code a lot, and the ultimate goal is that it's it's going to exist in like some weird persistent world or something and rank everyone against each other.
Weird.
And
That's interesting.
Have you seen Enigma?
the water dripping one makes me want to pee.
It's kind of like Incredible Machine, where
with water.
But with water.
So
like
it's making a constant dripping, trickling noise.
You don't have to wear your headphones.
I know, but I mean, if you do, I mean, it's like an instant.
I didn't know what it was. I was walking by Ryan O'Donnell's desk last week, and I heard it, and it sounded like someone had broken a water pipe or something, and he showed me what it was.
Stop
it. Look, I just peed. I don't want to go again.
Yeah, I haven't got my iPhone yet. I'm pretty close to getting it, but I'm excited for the potential.
So I'll tell you one thing. I think you would like, since you wanted it simpler, because I think the games. I think iPhone as a game platform might be a hair overrated because it doesn't have a control interface. So I think the game designers need to be very particular about designing for not having your hand all over the screen, because that's where you're watching the game, and then really using the other features of the iPhone. So I saw this one that we're writing from the Nintendo conference over to the Sony conference, and Brian Crescente was sitting next to me, and he has one, and he had this game that was like...
His hair is luxurious.
It is luxurious.
Mane-like.
Brian Crescente, Mel Gigolo.
So anyway, he had this game that was essentially columns, but it was done in the hexagonal shapes, like Galactus.
Trism. You shake, and you shake the thing to mix things up.
It was so cool.
Yeah.
And then depending on which way you turn, which way you have it oriented,
that's how it would drop.
That's how stuff drops. So you can shake it up. I thought that was really neat because I really felt like I was using all of the aspects of the directional control, the accelerometer.
There's a lot of people doing that, and I think there's a lot of people going to be doing. It
was a good game. I would definitely buy that game. Do you have that game yet?
I did not.
Dude, you should get. I thought that game.
I've been
was really
stingy
good.
on the games I've gotten so far.
Is it called Galactus or something? It's on the PC and the Mac as a shareware game, and they've made, and it's like a very fast action real-time strategy game where you're trying to take over planets, and you send ships, and it has that kind of very simple DEFCON type aesthetic to it.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Where you like chain planets. Every planet has a number of resources of ships. So to take them, you can chain planets together and say, okay, all you guys go over here, and it's like all very fast. And so there's going to be a lot of sort of strategy games masquerading as action games.
You need the video. You need the video podcast here, don't you?
I do.
You're really talking with your
hands.
hands.
My hands around.
You're very,
I just got out of a really long, very boring meeting, so I'm very animated.
I feel like you're Harry Potter. You're about to cast a spell on me.
The racing games, I'm not so wild about.
Yeah.
I didn't buy it.
Yeah, the Crash.
Yeah, we played. That's the other game we played. We
Nitro.
played Crash while we were on that bus. And I was like, "This is so you're using the accelerometer to like drive
Did you see,
as
the way that Force Unleashed is going to work?
It's like looks more like an adventure.
It's almost like a point-and-click adventure slash sort of old school Alone in the Dark type go here, and then the combat is you're pattern matching. So it'll like. To beat these guys, you're doing slashes and things, and it draws a thing at the top, and you have to mimic the...
So you're drawing with your finger on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it works pretty well.
I think adventure games should have a renaissance on iPhone. It's the perfect platform for old-fashioned...
The most perfect platform since the DS.
That I would agree with. And
which
there's all kinds
of course, in true fashion, have said that they're not going to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, that would just make sense.
It might
there's
make
some really
money
cool
then.
things they could do
Silly.
there. Because it's a 3G phone, if you're in 3G space, there's no reason that they couldn't stream media into your phone as part of the adventure game.
I mean, I think that's where it's going. Being able to stream like an episodic kind of adventure game.
Oh God, yeah, it'd be awesome.
It'd be crazy.
Yeah, I'm sure there's people thinking about that.
If they're not, they should be now.
Yeah.
What else have you been up to? Anything?
It's all handheld stuff.
Yeah, the handheld's great.
Yeah.
We played Sleep over the weekend.
Sleep
the game
Yes.
of
Sleep the game.
Yeah, you rack a lot of hours.
Shane and I won Sleep.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the sequel.
Really?
Yeah.
Wake.
Alan Wake, perhaps.
Yeah, what was up with that?
Not at E3.
Keep waiting.
That's a transition.
There you go. And so you want to hit anything else, or we move on to
really.
Shane? Shane, what you been up to? Yes, Shane was not telling us during the open.
It wouldn't spoil
Well,
it.
because I'm playing.
He's like, I don't want to spoil
I didn't
it.
want to spoil all your boring ass games with my new, exciting, relevant games that people are actually excited about hearing about,
Such as
opposed
I was
to
gonna say.
Assassin's Creed and iPhone wankery. No.
iPhone wanker.
I've been playing Tales of Vesperia for review.
that's
Okay, I'm jealous.
The latest in Namco Bandai's
I'm
long-running
Tales series, which
Tales of RPG series.
I hear you giggling with glee every night. I was wondering what you were
Dude,
playing.
Tales is so underrated in America. Did you ever check out Tales of Destiny? Oh my god, the game was fucking awesome.
I did play Tales of Destiny when it came out in 1997.
Super hard, but it was
and
super
I've
awesome.
been playing them all since. And this one, as much as I'm kind of bored of Tales because they're always kind of the same, they always draw me back because the battle systems, it's so much fun, it's so active. You're running around, you're slashing your sword, you're like, you're blocking, it's very active.
I'm jealous.
The battle system is great, and it loads quickly, and I'm having a lot of fun in the battles. However, as usual, like I'm only like 3 hours in, but the story is kind of autopilot. There's like a feisty princess. There's like the
spunky kids that giggle a lot.
There's like your dog, and it's very by the number so far plot wise. And like, yeah, you kind of don't expect an amazing, gripping narrative from Tales, but one of these days I'd love to find it. But maybe it's gonna get better.
Another game with a dog in it.
Dog and a feisty princess. But
fat or not?
She's not fat. She's quite thin. But it's incredibly traditional. It's kind of sad to me that they still are stuck in the very same mold of making kind of the same game over and over again. But at least it's fun. The battles are good.
Visually, it's pretty stunning. Yeah.
I find the graphics disappointing. It looks
interesting.
Like aesthetically, it's very pleasant, and like the anime cutscenes are great, and like the 3D characters, cel shaded characters, look very good. But overall, the environments are very like kind of low res and blurry. There's a weird blurry look to the whole game.
Aesthetically, it's very pleasant. Strikes me as a bit indifferent.
I like the character design.
Hey, she has a good personality. Pleasant.
It's very pleasant.
Like it looks like a high res, like a very high res version of a PS2 game.
I've seen this game. It does not look like a high-res PS2 game.
Are you sure you're not playing Enchanted Arms?
Yeah.
It looks a lot like Enchanted Arms. It looks slightly better than Enchanted Arms. But, it has some good depth of field things.
Now, say if it had the cell processor behind it, would it look much better?
I'm sure when it comes out on PS3, it'll look exactly the same.
Yeah.
Just like Eternal Sonata. But I'm just saying...
I don't know. They could put extra processes on the SPUs.
Yeah,
I'm saying more Namco Bandai doesn't have like the money to make this look like a real Xbox 360 game. I mean, compared to Lost Odyssey, it's night and day. I mean, like the style is
really
completely different.
Right. I mean, the style is completely different, but like, I could show you environments where you see the low res.
So your main problem is the environments, not the
environments
characters.
are low res.
Okay.
Everything looks kind of blurry. The characters look good, but just don't expect to be blown away by the graphics. I mean, the style is very nice.
Right. But
I'm definitely I'm into it mainly because of the combat. The combat is fantastic. Combat's very, very good. So
all right,
I'm still in it. I'm excited about it.
I have a game that secretly I want to play, and I'm curious if any of you have played it.
Which is?
And I'm a little loath to bring it up because
I think you already invited this one.
I kind of really want to try Order Up.
Oh, wow.
I secretly kind of like Order Up.
Really?
Donahoe's freaking review line is awesome.
So Order Up, it's like Cooking Mama, but way better. It really is better. That's what you call it, right? If you like Cooking Mama, then you should play Order Up.
It has some like restaurant management aspects.
It does.
And dishwashing and stuff, right?
So you can actually it's like Cooking Mama, except you have sous chefs, and you can assign them to do things, and it's a order of operations again.
Yeah.
But since you're owning the restaurant, you actually can customize what's happening in the restaurant, and orders coming all the time, so you can tell other people to do things.
And I think the art style looks awesome.
Well, and the other thing is they actually really know, the guy who made it, the main producer, knows a lot about the culinary world. He's a real gourmand, and as you progress through the game, you start out
you start off in like a sort of nasty burger place,
and then
right?
eventually you get an Italian restaurant, a Mexican restaurant. I mean, in the end, but you're doing haute cuisine with foie gras and molecular gastronomy.
It sounds awesome.
It is actually, John. I've only played a little bit, but if you like Cooking Mama, this is the next step.
And Dono gave it a B, right?
Yeah, I think you could certainly do a lot worse.
And it's
only on your Wii.
And it's only like $29 as well, which is awesome.
It's kind of delightful, actually. You should not be ashamed to like
Order
Up.
I don't feel so bad now.
But okay, the other game I've been playing is Kirby Superstar Ultra, which I think it's weird.
Is that Ultra question mark?
Yeah.
And this is Nintendo. It's a remake of Kirby Superstar for Super Nintendo, which was in itself a remake of Kirby.
There hasn't been a new Kirby for 15 years.
When was the
right?
last new Kirby game? Like Canvas Curse?
Yeah, I think so. And no, there was a new one after that, I think.
Okay.
But
I think they sit around going, that last one we did was kind of awesome. So.
Yeah, so as third generation rehashed Kirby, you've seen this all before, but it's still Kirby, and Kirby's still awesome.
Mm-hmm.
However, I was a little disappointed to see not a whole lot of new content. There's 3 new all touch-driven mini games. They're really simple. One is match the right card. That's a card to show and pick the right card. That's for babies. Another one is just shooting gallery. That's kind of simple. And the fourth one is Kirby is on a conveyor belt, and you have to make sure he doesn't accidentally eat bombs and bugs. Make sure he only eats the food that's coming to his.
This sounds fantastic.
Yeah, but
where can I get this game?
Kirby Superstar is a great game. If you haven't played Kirby Superstar on Super Nintendo, I can imagine wanting to play this. However, Kirby's Canvas Curse was the best Kirby game.
It was awesome.
And they haven't made anything like that since, so that's kind of a bummer.
That was the one where you used the stylus to move them around.
How many
Lost Winds is basically the sequel to that.
Kirby games have there been? Like every time they launch a console, they hint at some fabulous Kirby experience.
Never happens. And then they could have ported Kirby 64 to here because the DS can do that, and they didn't. But maybe they'll get to that in 5 years. I don't know. If you're a Kirby fan like me, it's still maybe worth the price of admission.
All right.
There you go.
Sold.
There you go. Andrew, you played work.
I've been quiet. I've been playing travel and work, and I went to Disneyland over the weekend.
Well, we were both at Disneyland.
So did Shane.
How awesome is the Toy Story game that you ride in? The new one.
Yeah, that was the first one.
The new one. Yeah, there's this amazing new Toy Story game where you're shooting
light gun stuff.
You're shooting. It's a giant 4-dimensional.
What are you shooting in Toy Story?
Okay, how would you even explain it? So you're sitting on this ride.
Yeah.
And there's a gun, and to fire the gun, you have to pull this thing in and out. It's not a simple trigger. You actually
gotta really work it.
It's like a plunger. You have to pull it.
We do need a video podcast right now.
You gotta work
the way he's working his gun.
You gotta work that gun action. Grease it.
Did you play Buzz Lightyears or did you play the new Toy Story?
Oh no, I played the old one in Disneyland. You
played
the
old
California
one.
Adventure.
The brand new one came out in California Adventure, and you're wearing 3D. You're wearing 3D glasses.
I'm from the 80s.
It's fantastic because
Captain EO.
Each one you play has different physics. So in some it's a ring toss, and some you're shooting different kinds of guns, and it reacts to you. It blows water and air in your face.
All over your face.
It's fantastic.
So
I walked out and I was like, that's way better than Wii.
Wow.
Anyway.
So yeah, I haven't been playing any games.
And it's available in stores.
And not playing anything that you pump it and it then blows on your face.
Wait.
Hey-oh.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
All right, I think this is where we take the break and come back on the other side. We're gonna do a proper E3 wrap-up show. So stick around. We'll be right back with that in a minute. All right, we're back and ready to get into some E3 stuff. Oh, but one thing I wanted to do real quick, which as I see the bottle sitting here, thanks go out to Mike from London, who sent us over a nice bottle of Tullamore Dew, which is the legendary Irish whiskey.
Should give every man his due. Very classy. Tagline.
It's good stuff. By the way, here in San Francisco is the home at the Buena Vista of the Irish coffee, and they make their Irish coffees with Tullamore Dew. So
there you go.
Classy.
You ever been there before?
No, I haven't.
You've never been to the Buena Vista?
Yeah, sure.
No, I haven't.
I've never.
I don't
Really?
think so, no.
No?
We should go, Skip.
Okay.
We should organize an outing.
It's good.
It's a date.
Oh, awesome.
Nice.
fun.
And not a play date either.
I think everyone heard.
Oh, dear. All right, so I thought we would start this. Here's a structure I thought we'd give so everyone kind of has an idea what we're doing here. I thought I'd do a little introduction real quickly. We have Michael Pachter's he works for Wedbush Morgan Securities. We've even run him in Take This Job in EGM. A very respected industry analyst. We take his wrap-up of E3, use that as maybe a launching point, and then just kind of work through the 3 consoles the same order that we had the press conferences. And if we want to do some games or some publisher stuff, then at the end we'll wrap it up with that. Does that sound good to you guys?
Let's do it.
Sure.
All right, so some of the things that Pachter summed up in his E3 2008 review was that non-traditional game software was a popular theme, that there were a lot of music games again, and this time particularly a focus towards hitting a female audience. Of the big 3 presentations, he gave the win to Microsoft. He said that Nintendo came in second place, although it disappointed the hardcore fan, and that Sony was actually the third place because they tried to hit too many different topics in the amount of time that they had allotted to their presentation. He noted, as I think we all did, that there were very few surprises on the software front, that Electronic Arts had probably the most impressive software publishing library that they showed. Big surprise, the spectacle of E3 is dead. He compared the Los Angeles Convention Center concourse to being as quiet as a college library during summer.
It's not as good as I thought. LeRon de Tox thing was the best one, though. It was like being at a pipe fitters convention.
Yeah, wow.
Which is ironic because the day we were packing up and leaving, they have a gift convention showing up with all these old ladies wearing way too much makeup, and it was way louder than it had been during E3.
Was that on Friday?
Yeah.
Wow, I'm glad I missed that.
I mean,
let's see.
for not being there, it was sort of interesting because I was reading your Twitters and I was on the phone a lot and
Sure.
hearing a lot of stuff and what dawned on me very quickly, sort of not soaking up any of the atmosphere, was that what the organization, the industry, and the attendees didn't sync up at all. So
not well.
The industry itself had decided sort of independently of each other and then sort of present itself en masse as, we are now mainstream, we're going after tween girls and older people and families and whatever. And nobody that gives a shit about that was invited. So they invited a bunch of hardcore media and people that have a propensity to cover the industry to come in and look at a bunch of games that naturally they don't really care about. And it didn't work so much that Microsoft, at the same time, had an event in New York to go and present the same stuff to all the press that wasn't going to E3. So if it's like a media event and the media you want to talk to isn't there, something's not quite right.
So I would say that I was surprised because I thought we were going to the funeral for E3, and as it turns out, I think there was some life there because of some of the audiences it does reach. But I think Pachter would agree with you. He said E3 is headed for extinction, that it's ill-timed, which I 100% agree with. The timing was really terrible. That it landed for a couple of reasons. Number one, but mostly importantly for him, because he's talking about investor side, is it lands during what's typically a quiet period, where those
needs to be earlier.
It needs
to be back in May.
So he says E3 should be held no later than early June. Which, by the way, on the last page of his report, he sums up noting that the Los Angeles Convention Center is available the first week of June 2009, if the ESA is listening.
I don't know, I've heard like various reports from developers saying they don't like it in May because that messes up with their schedule.
The milestone misses milestones.
Yeah. So
all
that
right.
could be a reason.
So, funeral? No funeral? What do you guys think?
I mean, I think there was an element of some of the publishers turning up because they sort of felt they had to. I definitely got that vibe from Nintendo. Whereas we don't really, this isn't really the event for us, so we're just going to sort of... And then there wasn't so a lot of press wasn't invited, a lot of mainstream press wasn't invited, and people made these sort of more mainstream-focused...
I saw a lot of mainstream press.
There was stuff there, but like...
I even saw popular... I saw, like I've said this a million times, but I saw popular freaking mechanics. Right, at E3.
But there wasn't a lot of TV. There wasn't a lot of it used to be.
That's because the spectacle's gone.
Yeah, there was no event anymore, so the industry wasn't able to present itself as something huge. So at the same time this is going on, you've got people, like the PricewaterhouseCooper thing a while ago saying it's 18 billion worldwide, and it's going to go to 68 or whatever. And then you have the pipe fitters convention in the concourse hall doesn't kind of sync with that.
Yeah,
there was no. You would expect. The biggest event in gaming that one of the morning shows or one of the afternoon shows or one of the sort of magazine shows on network television would have said, we're here at E3 and here are the, here's the Nintendo conference at least or something.
Yeah.
And there was none of it. As a pop culture phenomenon, that was the death. And the E3 was our little sort of snapshot of pop culture for the world to wake up and go, oh yeah, but by the way, video games are really huge. And that didn't happen.
So, if you want to know why Pachter really is at the top of his game, the solitude of this year's E3 made patently obvious to us that the ESA membership made a mistake in downsizing the show last year. Prior to last year, publishers and console manufacturers used E3 to address the needs of their core constituents, media, retail investors, and consumers. By choosing to eliminate any potential for a consumer element to the show, the ESA chased away much of the television media.
And also, outside of consumer, is the fact that they locked out retail is really significant.
That's huge.
It's nuts.
Because retail needs to go in and go, okay, this is going to be huge.
And get a sense from the vibe of things as well, right? I mean, they're like a good buyer is as much getting a feel for what's going on, the climate of reception.
Plus, there's a lot of small. I mean, like we were talking about Order Up earlier on. Was Zoo Interactive there?
No.
And there's a lot of companies like that now that are banging out these games on Wii that are going to do okay. And they don't get any visibility, they don't get any media, they don't get any press, and and then the stuff that is there that's coming from the Disneys and THQs and the big guys that are skewing more family and younger, and particularly the girl stuff. A lot of people are just like, we went to see Ultimate Band at Disney, and okay, it's Hannah Montana for boys.
So here's where I heard it did work, and this is what I heard from several of the folks I talked to, especially at mid-sized publishers, is that they're caught in a space where E3 works for them, and they definitely did want it earlier. E3 works for them because it allows them to be in one spot and let people come to them. And they probably don't have maybe even the wherewithal to bring everybody and their brother out on a studio tour for every single game. But if they can bring all of the games into a space, and all the other mid-sized publishers have those spaces there, and the USA Todays and the Popular Mechanics and whoever that mainstream media is can come, and also the fan sites. I mean, this is a great opportunity for them to actually tap into those, fan site driven internet spaces where you really get that grassroots sort of support for your game, which is very important in today's market, right? If you get a well-supported grassroots effort behind your game, people are excited about it, you can make your sales numbers. This is an opportunity for them to bring these people in.
Buy some space at PAX.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
PAX is really
E3 wasn't either. It wasn't big spectacle and it wasn't grassroots, because in the middle of all this, you have the guys that were organizing E3 and so
what would you do with it, John?
It either needs to go big or small. And
it needs to get bigger.
Bigger is probably the more sensible thing to do, but it needs to be one or the other, and it's still straddling both. And also, there isn't a handle on who should be there, because, I'm sure you guys went through this as well. If you have anyone that works for you that needed to be there that wasn't on the list, the fucking rigmarole you have to go through to try and get somebody in the door that it's patently obvious needs to be there. And it's like none of the objectives and the execution is lined up. It's like, so there's this person that's going to cover things exactly the way you're trying to position yourself, and I have to go beg a fucking publisher to get an invite?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And it ended up being
silly.
There was like 1,000 people went in the end or something crazy.
It was
wasn't
very,
it was
small.
very, very small attendance.
And like being there, it felt very just like transitional and weird and volatile. Reflected the industry again. And like I think Nintendo's press conference reflected what they're doing. And it's disappointing to us as hardcore enthusiasts, but once again, it's like, that's not their focus anymore.
I don't know that it did reflect well, because I think that there are games that have popular appeal that could have a great flashy presentation that could really capture people's eyes if they had the opportunity to get on the stage. And to me, the ideal thing, and like Ncaa and I talk about this, is bring what was in, what was that, Concourse Hall. Bring I think Patrick called it a cafeteria. Bring that into West Hall. Give them some leeway. I mean, we don't need Hollywood stages or Hollywood
giant
film
skate
sets.
ramps.
Right, we don't need that.
But wrestling rings.
But let them ramp up the
But there
size.
wasn't even a way to see a game. Like you heard,
Right.
this game is great. Well, you can't just go see that game because it's probably not for display, and you had to have an appointment. You had to know somebody. Like, I would have loved to see Heavy Rain. Couldn't. Whatever.
There was evidently like one breakout group. Yeah, I missed it as well.
It wasn't very useful for the press, and it wasn't that effective. I don't think for PR. Like, I don't know. Again, I felt like another E3 that just was neither here nor there.
I was gonna say this was my first E3, and I was like, this was what all the fuss is about.
Well, it wasn't what all the fuss was about. I think that there's some reasons to think that it could still work, but they need to get back on track with it.
And I think his assessment of the 3 first parties, I don't know how intentional Microsoft nailing it was, but they did a good job of straddling the two worlds that E3 is sort of stuck between.
Okay.
Because they did the, Gears of War 2, hardcore game, let's all get excited about it, chainsaws and blood and guts. And then at the same time, they had Netflix and the new experience.
However, if you had been there, like all the casual stuff went over really poorly with the crowd in attendance. Nobody was excited for any of it.
So they started off with the hardcore games. And I think one of the reasons that they
started strong. Gears.
Exactly. I think they came out on their strongest foot. They were very quick to very briefly into the conference. They had Cliff up there, and they had Gears of War 2 on the screen.
An amazing level.
An amazing level, and you're like, holy shit, this is neat. And they really grabbed you very quickly and got into that.
But do you really think that once they started on avatars and on that stuff, people were excited? Like,
no, I think there was a big shift.
I don't think it was exciting, but I thought that showing the new front end for Xbox the way they did was really significant for balancing their messaging. It's like, here's the game for the people that really care, and here's how we're going to, we're not going all the way into Wii territory, but here's how we're sort of reinventing Xbox 360 and making it a little friendlier for the people that we want to transition. I think Nintendo is like, it's all about people that don't really care about games. I think what Microsoft is being smart about is saying, we're going to try and draw you in, and then we're going to turn you into somebody that cares about games.
The way I described it seems like they're going after kind of gaming dads that grew up playing games, but they can't convince their partner to bring it in. But this is something where you can still have something you can play with the kids, but you can also play with the hardcore
Meanwhile,
games as well.
Sony are on Mars. It's like, here we go. It's a shooter and another shooter and a downloadable shooter, and you can download movies. We have this 256-player shooter as well.
And a cartoon of Kratos.
Okay, we'll get there.
I
bring us back into line.
But I'm saying I find Pactor and a lot of people's complaint that Sony's was too all over the place and they had too much to talk about.
Okay, we'll get to Sony.
I will
get you to Sony. I promise I will get you to Sony.
Microsoft was very focused. They didn't mention games for Windows except for once.
Okay, so they said they were going to do that up front. This was, by the way, even the name of it was the Xbox 360 media briefing.
So I'm saying, like, if Nintendo had only talked about Wii or if Sony had only talked about PlayStation 3, then their press conference would have been much more focused.
How much DS stuff was talked
about?
Very little.
Yeah,
exactly.
Not
much.
So
you're trying to bring
and WiiWare
PC
wasn't even mentioned.
Right.
I'm just saying, like, perhaps Sony shouldn't have been so comprehensive, but like I think Microsoft. For me, like, I would have liked to see more games for Windows stuff from them at E3.
I think really that's indicative of the direction that they're going. Is that they've got more.
They flat up said it.
They've got a lot of problems with Windows as a platform in positioning it, and
they're repositioning it again.
Yeah,
and I think they're also looking at the fact that long-term PC games is about thin clients, browsers. Not $10 million on a disc, go and buy it for $50 games. It's about downloading things in small slices.
Or is it because then at the same time at Game Fest this last week you started talking about DX11 but
DX11 is backwards compatible with DX10, so it's not that huge disconnect that you have between DX9 and DX10 where you had to get new hardware.
Well, but it's not backwards compatible to DX9, so you still have the Golf. The Golf is between DX9 and DX10.
Right, exactly.
So
but they're not making that mistake again.
But for them, for Windows and everything to work, all this stuff needs to be completely invisible to the user. So that there was a couple of guys at Game Fest were saying that by 10 years from now, the idea of a console is sort of. It's all about just things that can interpret the code that we're spitting out and streaming out, whether it's on a PC or a set-top box. I mean, we're back to that kind of
right.
Well,
the cloud spitting something into hardware.
You don't need the hardware because there's going to be huge servers that serve all the hardware, and you just stream it to your screen.
And what something like DX11 has the opportunity to do, but I don't know if Microsoft is set up this way yet, is to be one of the standards for interpreting that stuff,
right?
Because some of the 3D and multiplayer browser stuff,
instant action is really cool.
It's really impressive to think that you're basically the browser is the platform now, and that there's OpenGL stuff, which is pretty common in these games now.
Yeah, but OpenGL is not DX. Like Microsoft has their own standard, and they don't want anything to do with OpenGL.
And ultimately, if you can get it so that pretty much any device can go, you want to play the next Unreal, and it's essentially this strategy instead of the sort of buy it in a box and it works and everything is all tied into DX or whatever. But there's a big gap, and Microsoft hasn't filled in all the gaps yet. They know it's coming. Right. And so I think it was smart of them to just go, just 360, because that's kind of where we got our shit together.
And I really do think Microsoft comes out like looking as if they won E3 because they started very strong and they ended incredibly strong with the only big surprise, which is Final Fantasy. But I ask people, like, look at what was between those two announcements and what was really compelling. What did you learn from that press conference? Like, what did you come out of there that you didn't go into knowing? And,
okay, so let me break this down for a second. Let's talk about Gears of War for a second. Right. I think Gears of War 2 showed extreme. As far as just showing of a game, it might have had the best showing. I'm using air quotes.
I agree.
Its showing was tremendous.
Because the first single-player level they had shown, which was somewhat underwhelming, and what they showed there, which is still very linear, very Gears-like, but it showed a different art style and aesthetic that they really hadn't shown in any of their games before.
So they nailed that, and then they have Peter come out and tell you that Fable 2 is done.
I thought that showing was a little hurried, but the game looks great. But like in terms of an actual presentation,
I'm still not sold. He came and gave us a private demo, and I'm still not sold on that. You've played it, I'm still not sold on the combat system.
I'm sold on it completely. I am a completely changed man on Fable 2.
As he was sitting there talking to us, he was telling us all these amazing things the combat was doing, and yet as he was controlling it on screen, his character couldn't have looked worse and more disjointed.
Dirty secret about Peter:
he's not good.
He doesn't demo the game very well. he's like.
Why didn't you take the controller from him?
Because it's his goddamn game.
I question, when they showed the.
Really, I'm not the same reason. Reason I stayed at the event late so that he could demo for me because it's still Peter Molyneux. But this game was also shown to me by and I forget Ian's last name, but Ian's one of the lead level designers.
Right, you told me.
And the way he was making the game respond to his inputs and play with the different combos, bringing magic in, bringing different parts of the environment in. Yeah. It was all very fluid. It was all very smooth.
And it showed like that at GDC as well. That if you know the triggers for making it look spectacular, you can actually play the fights with the spectacle in mind. So it's like, I'm not going to fight in the middle of the courtyard. I'm going to go over to the market stall so that I can jump off the top and knock the fruit over, and and you can kind of make it look cool. Right. But if you just let it do its own thing wherever you are, it could seem a bit vanilla.
Yeah, a bit humdrum.
One of the things I was confused about was the co-op. Like when you join co-op, you're not actually your character, right?
Well, so I think this is one of the most under or overlooked things of E3. I think the way they have that co-op setup is really cool. So let's say,
so you said it's a good thing.
We're playing. I think it looks fantastic. We're playing Fable on our own machines in single player, but we're still, we're signed into live. As I'm playing, wherever you are in your game is a glowing like portal in my game. So if you're in whatever, Canterbury Square, and I come to Canterbury Square, then I'm going to see your little glowy thing floating around like Will-o'-the-Wisp.
That'll be for any of your friends on your friends list.
Any of your friends on your friends list that are playing. And I can click on that and immediately ask you, hey, Dave, you want to come and jump into my world? And when you do, you will jump into my world with your character.
Really? It's not like a...
Does it level jack people, or does it?
He didn't say that.
Because the way it was described to me, and I didn't see the co-op stuff firsthand, so I don't know. Was that you're kind of a henchman for the other person? You're like assistant, but it's not. It's like your real character.
No, it's like as far as I understood, it was your real character. I mean, if I'm incorrect, then someone will say, "Oh, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about."
And you can.
But that's what he was playing up. Is that the whole thing of the game is that there's so many different elements to the world, just from the way you handle NPCs, the way you deal with different situations.
You can fuck up his world for him. I mean,
no, you can't. So they fixed that.
They changed that.
So the person who invites...
when he demoed it a while ago...
He shot his wife.
He shot his wife. Now you can't kill anybody. It's like safety's on.
Can you proposition
you can.
Like prostitutes?
So
still do that?
Yeah, you can.
Nice.
You can actually do that. It's up to the person who does the inviting. When you invite someone in, by default, safety lock will be on, and so they won't be able to kill critical NPCs or people that are relationship related to your character.
Right.
So it pretty much
That's smart. All right,
but if you want,
we have a lot to get through.
Right, we have a lot to get through.
Does that mean you could sort of attend like, will you come into my game and will you like kill my?
I don't have I can't do it myself.
I can't do it myself.
I'll give you 500 Microsoft points.
Right.
Yeah. And by you saying that, Peter just won because he would think that is so cool that you actually thought to that extent of wow, I could do that.
I'm getting really sick of this nagging, whining wife character.
Keep spitting out babies.
Also overlooked. So then the next game.
Well, I think we all agree that Gears and Fable 2 showed very well. However, I think Fallout, Resident Evil, Rock Band, and Guitar Hero were just like neutral presentations.
But see, I saw
Resident Evil was great.
Yeah,
but like we'd already played that. I mean,
you didn't play.
I hadn't played it.
Well, no one had played the co-op, and it looked great in co-op. But I mean, I don't know. I didn't walk away from that like, oh my god, I can't believe Resident Evil 5. Like, no,
right? But they needed to.
But you had seen it before. For the rest of us that hadn't seen it in person before,
I would have rather seen GTA 4 downloadable content. I would have rather seen Halo Wars. I would have rather seen Alan Wake. Something that is exclusive and unique and interesting.
Very funny that they mentioned downloadable content for Grand Theft Auto 4, but they didn't show it.
I'm just saying, like, for what they could have shown in that time allotted.
Rockstar was busy with the DS
Instead
game.
of showing me a multi-platform title that I'd already seen, show me something new and exciting and unique and exclusive.
I'm actually a little surprised that you didn't think the Resident Evil presentation was better. Because
I was excited to see actual co-op in front of me because they didn't let us play co-op, but I don't know.
Like I said it in the wrap-up show that we did on the 1UP show, but like seeing... Again, I forget her name. Her name is not memorable for me.
Sheva.
Seeing Sheva in the hotel... While the laser tracer for the
dude,
that's
but
so
like
cool.
Having played that level, I was like, oh, okay, that looks exactly like what I expected to look like in co-op. Next.
But the experience, I you know what? Maybe you've played other games than I have, but I haven't really had a game experience like that, and I think it looked really cool. I'm not saying it was
a waste of their time, but I'm saying like the Fallout 3 demo, which wasn't that impressive, like maybe put something else in there.
Fallout 3 doesn't demo.
You have to agree that like
it demos well if you have time.
But like wasting 15 minutes on Guitar Hero and Rock Band in your press conference. Come on,
that's what's hot right now.
Yeah,
they need to have that stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
Everybody has that stuff.
I agree with Andy.
But they need to say that.
But they had the exclusivity on Rock Band too, which is still a big deal.
Fallout 3 didn't demo well, but I'm still jazzed for it.
We had 30 minutes with Todd was there like giving us a private demo and seeing that in person. It was the opposite situation from Fable. Like it raised my interest in it.
Some of the observations on it from E3 was that the writing's not very good.
It's not so much the writing as it is
that
it's
just
still,
not charming and funny the way Fallout 2 was.
It's still ham-handed with the way they handled dialogue.
Well, the stuff I heard, like you have radio stations which you can actually dial in and listen to, and the stuff that I heard from that was actually really clever and pretty funny.
It's the individual NPCs. It's the individual NPC conversations, which is still
well, that's Bethesda. I mean.
and that's exactly where it's at.
Yeah.
Is it the same 6 guys over and over?
They have more voice
guys.
actors. I think they hired 10 this time. So.
It's now I'm putting on an English accent. Now I'm not.
I'm an old lady.
my favorite newly announced Microsoft published game at E3 was You're in the Movies, which I thought, whatever it's called.
Dude, you're like the only person I know who liked that.
If you were a kid, that'd be the hottest thing you've ever seen in your life. I want to try it.
Really?
And that's what I was hitting at earlier. Is like if you can get like parents involved with your kids, like that's what Nintendo should be doing more of, like games where you have an interactive experience.
Before we get too far away, you and I will lose ourselves in Fallout 3 4 months.
Yeah.
I mean.
I put 90 hours into Oblivion.
It's pretty much spectacular. It's pretty much everything you ever wanted.
And these ships like soon, right?
September, right?
September.
Yeah. The balance between the VAT system where you can go into the turn-based mode and bring in all the skills.
Why wouldn't you want to use VAT? Like, I'm excited. I'm going to use VAT throughout.
No, you're not. Let me tell you what.
Really?
You're actually not, because
I was watching the demo and thought exactly the same
Why would
thing.
you not use that ever?
Yeah.
Well, we have a video up where Todd actually played through that section of the demo like 2 different ways. He played it with the VAT system and then played it more as a traditional shooter, and like it works fine. Like
because I'll answer your question, because the elegance of the game is how well balanced the 2 systems are. There is a dramatic payoff for using VAT. But it's time intensive. So what happens?
Yeah, but what you're giving up is, I don't get to play a clumsy FPS. I guess I'll use the version that I can target his head every time and it automatically hits. Oh, what a punishment!
It doesn't automatically hit. It lets you bring your skills in.
You can see the different percentages of which it's going to hit.
Right. It lets you bring your skills in. It's skill point driven, so it is sort of a trade-off. It brings in some of a turn-based mechanic. But it's great because what will happen is you're going to go to fight things, and at range, you're going to use your VAT system to whittle them down, and then you're just going to polish them off with the shooter mechanism.
Does it do more damage when you're playing it in real time or something? Like, is there any reason to play in real time?
It's going to be a pacing thing where you just get bored
that's the
pausing every 5 seconds.
The balance is when you go into real time, you're not as accurate.
Dude,
but it doesn't use...
As someone who plays turn-based RPGs, I'll tell you, I'd much rather just press a button 3 times than run up to you, swat at you, and watch you run away.
Again,
but you're not
think
swatting.
About it in terms of Fallout. You can have a lot of weapon-based combat, right? So let's say you're coming up on a fire beetle.
You're driving Skip to drink.
Skip's
is
drinking.
Awesome.
you jump into VATS to whittle down the fire beetle.
I feel like I could have already beaten it in VAT during the 10 seconds you just told me to run up to it and hit it.
No, you don't run up to it and hit it. God damn it!
It's not melee based.
I give up.
We don't need to convince the world.
There's no melee weapons in the whole
He's not
game.
even listening to me. He's just arguing with me without making any
so there's
points.
no melee weapons. It's just
You've been
it's just
doing a show with Shane for 2 years. Like, come on.
Well, I still haven't seen any reason not to use VAT in that game. None.
So that you can advance through the game at a more even pace. So you don't have, because there's no reason for you to keep
telling me
using
it's necessarily faster. I'm not sure it is.
To pull the trigger and watch something die than to pause, pick where you want to hit, target, pick out.
It's a slow process.
This isn't fun to listen to anymore.
All right.
No.
All right.
All right. Moving on. Fallout looks good.
Netflix was the other big thing.
Netflix was big.
Netflix was the other big thing that gave Microsoft points. So I personally
for people who already have Netflix.
And
I think found out Shane doesn't have Netflix.
But I think people are going to sign up for it. Like there are Xbox...
I already saw a commercial actually for it.
Really?
Yeah, for Xbox 360.
See, I've been using download rentals on Apple TV, and but the fact that the Netflix library is so vast has got me thinking that maybe that's kind of the way to go.
Now that they have Microsoft behind them, who already has a really good relationship with all these studios, maybe they'll be able to move some of the movies off Xbox Live Video Marketplace into Netflix.
For me, this makes Netflix a really compelling thing because it makes it a great two-in-one. I'm still going to order my 2 Blu-rays that I can have out at any time because I'm going to watch those in high def. But this is the equivalent of on demand.
Yeah, but
there's no extra fee. So I can watch as much as I want to.
Instant gratification.
Instant gratification.
They still need to increase the amount of stuff you can stream, though.
Yeah, it's like they've already
and the quality too, because
a
lot of the movies that they have available for streaming is kind of
it's
shit.
not like you can have one-to-one everything that you want to.
No, not at all. It's right now they only have 10%, so they have 10,000 titles. 10,000 titles is a lot of titles, but there's not everything you want.
But this is.
But it's always shit. It's like Apple. It's like all the shit you don't want. It's like, oh great.
Whether it was bullshit or not, one of the things that
every John Cusack movie ever made is available for download.
But Netflix can go to studios now. They just added 10 million more eyeballs. They can look at your movies.
That's one of the things that Aaron Greenberg pointed out to me from Microsoft. And the other one was that, with them having a vested interest in it, it's not like they're not going to support Netflix's engineering department on improving their ability to deliver a more high def.
The future of Microsoft is digital distribution. So the ability to be able to stream it.
At just a cosmetic level, I think the whole presentation of the Netflix, it's sexy.
Yeah. Next year
really good.
Probably next year at E3, or maybe even this January at CES, they'll be talking about how now they're going to do HD.
The only thing I would like them to tweak is the ability to change your queue from your system instead of having to go to your PC. And
you can do that.
No. When Larry Herb was demoing it, he had to go on his computer to change his queue.
It's interesting because Aaron told me that you were going to have full Netflix integration into the Blade. I'll be interested to see if they work that out.
I mean, maybe by the time it gets released,
lazy.
Whatever.
You're just lazy.
This sort of actually reminds me of something else that I thought was that really significant at E3, and it sort of went unspoken. But so I think the impending nuclear warfare in video games is going to be the publishers versus retail. And the opening of the missile doors was Microsoft very quietly saying, you can install full games to the hard drive.
Yeah.
Right.
One ping away.
Yeah. That was, we moved up one DEF CON level with that, because that was, everyone took it as, oh great, it's going to be like PS3, it's going to be faster loads. No. This is, this is EA saying, you know what, GameStop, we're fucking pissed off of you letting people trade our games in. Fuck you.
Yeah.
And
maybe
then,
there's a
and
reason
then it's going to
retailers
be
weren't there.
all-out fucking war, and the entire industry is going to change. And Microsoft doing that was like a really, really significant thing. And it was just the way they kind of, it wasn't even, they didn't even make a big deal of it. It's like, oh, we'll do this and this and this, and we're changing the front end, and you can do this now.
Yeah.
Okay, and then it wound up on the Megaton. Shit got real.
That got real.
Shit got real.
Big announcement.
Final Fantasy
Big
13
shit.
coming to 360.
Which is huge.
And
the biggest single announcement at E3 by far.
It was.
Yeah,
That was
by far.
That was
But
definitely
wasn't
Megaton.
it kind of vaporware?
so?
Wasn't it just sort of like, we're
An
going to do
old
Final
trailer.
Fantasy 13, and here's a CG trailer, and
Well, gameplay stuff in it.
Have you seen
it was
Final
an old
Fantasy
trailer
13
re-edited.
Well,
and it's like, and we don't really know when, and it's
But it's being built on it's being built on a PC though, like
well,
the
but
translation
the
of
problem was
360.
at the press conference later where we ask all these questions, the whole thing's online. Jeremy was there, but like they kind of said, like, yeah, we're finishing it on this one first, then we're gonna start on that one. So like you wonder how is it going to be like Japan gets it, then like a year and a half later we get it.
It's
here.
not going to be that bad.
Well, hitting on
how it is.
hitting on what you said, the ability to install whole games, like there's gonna be multiple discs in that game. But what they've said is you can install only maybe one or two of the discs if you want to, based on how much hard drive space. So you only have to switch 2 discs, which I think it's pretty interesting. Yeah.
I don't think it'll be that long away because, I mean, look, Jeremy pointed it out. It's a multi-platform engine. The handwriting was on the wall at GDC.
Right, yeah. I mean, the Crystal Tool is going multi-platform.
They're not going to delay the launch of Final Fantasy 13 in North America and Europe because they're waiting for 360. They're going to get it
Well,
done.
but they might have to.
They're going to get it done.
Contractually now, they may have to wait until the 360 version's done before the PS3 version.
Right, but I don't think
here.
I don't think it'll be.
But they don't have to wait to release the PS3 version in Japan.
No.
So
That's
it
PS3
could lead
exclusive
to
in
a
Japan.
circumstance where there's a full year or so between those easily.
I would be surprised.
We'll see.
I would be surprised.
But like and like I agree, these are all big things. But if I look back and think, what did Microsoft Game Studios announce for Xbox 360
Lips.
at E3? They announced They announced Lips.
Honestly, I think the most significant thing, and we'll talk about it a little more in news, is what they didn't announce. At
Right,
this
and
conference.
that's why I was disappointed. I wanted
I
some
still
of those
think
games.
that's significant. You're rolling your eyes.
I wanted some of
Garnet.
those games and expansions and products that I've heard about that I know are being worked on to be there, because this is the big show of the year. I mean, I know they have XO8, I know they have other shows, but
But Halo wasn't shown at all.
Halo wasn't
Either
shown.
Halo Wars or Bungie's project.
You want stuff you want stuff for next year.
yeah, not a lot of it. Just
But
like
Microsoft doesn't do that
but just like
anymore.
one or two.
Nobody
Well,
does that
Final
anymore.
Fantasy is something for
Well,
next year
no,
or beyond.
Sony
but
does.
yeah,
No, Sony's the only one that
Nintendo
Microsoft's
used to
very
do
focused.
that. Nintendo used to show us stuff for next year.
And as we wrap up in Microsoft, in case it wasn't patently obvious, there was a conscientious decision not to mention the word Halo in that conference at all.
And, you
there
know,
was definitely.
But we still haven't gotten a straight answer why that happened. We probably
Nope.
won't for a long time. What was
Big
it?
surprise.
Was it Epic complaining that they wanted Gears of War to have the entire spotlight, or was it Don Matrick,
Who knows?
cracking the whip on Bungie?
Or were they really actually not satisfied with where the presentation was going to be? I don't know the answer. I can tell you this: there definitely were people. There were definitely two camps within Microsoft, and
there's
some
still-
people wanted Halo to be there, and we're like, "Wow, that you can't go out. We can't go out on E3 without Halo." And some people said, "You know, we've done it for 5 years. We need to do."
Well, I think
something
there's still
different."
some people Microsoft that are still a little chaffed that they've gone in, that Bungie's went independent. So,
Well, it didn't change.
But it
between
doesn't
the
change
last
anything
week.
because they still have an exclusive
but
publishing agreement.
Microsoft loves to own and control
Yeah.
things, and this is another example of that.
Don't overblow that. It'll be all right. It'll all work out. Okay, so the next morning we got up early so that we got up early so that we could go see Nintendo.
I got to watch that through live stream, and it was
I mean,
phenomenal.
we all kind of expected a disappointment, but not of this magnitude.
It was a comedy of horror.
So I think that I actually might be the least disappointed of us in it.
Did you have the fewest expectations, or like?
There were an awful lot of very amusing animated GIFs that came out of that very quickly.
Mostly-
It was like
mostly
shocking
camp.
how fast people can generate those things.
Well, I mean, they set the tone early with Shaun White's snowboarding, like a third-party
Which
balance.
was the best looking traditional game that they showed.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yes.
a balance board controlled
fun.
snowboarding game.
It's
It looks
actually
fun.
works really well.
Looks fun, whatever. But it's gonna be out for other platforms, and those versions have better graphics, so they don't have a balance board.
Right.
We'll see.
Cammy, very, chipper, having a good time.
But then, before they even get to any other games, they set us up for our games sell so well that we don't need to make them anymore because
Can I just
our
say-
old games sell like new games still.
Well, I thought that was really funny.
Iwata looks more and more like a Bond villain every time he comes on stage. like he's up to his knee deep in paradigm shifts and psychological barriers being broken.
It's true.
Like he's very powerful man. I'm afraid.
The funny thing about that whole argument about people buying their old games is all I could think about this whole time was of course they're buying their old games. They don't have anything else to buy.
No, but it refers to the paradigm shift of these people buying Wii's.
See, Shane's on board. Paradigm
These
shift.
people buying Wii's buy things they play with their family and
He's
stuff.
going to say zeitgeist in a minute.
No.
I know. If you only offer cherry snow cones, people will probably buy a lot of cherry snow
And
cones at the
we
beach.
all knew that Animal Crossing was coming, but we thought it was going to look better than that.
Really?
right?
I didn't.
Now I have this argument. I'm not upset about the way the game looks. And I guess I'm the only one. I think the game still looks. I think I would play Animal Crossing to play Animal Crossing, not because I wanted to see it with, tessellated, superior
You're
graphics.
just pissed.
and-
It's going to be more difficult to trade fin codes for
it
the
looks like-
13-year-olds.
it looks like-
Tessellated? Where'd you
Yeah,
pull that
Jesus.
from?
I don't know.
I like my games where the polygons don't tessellate, actually, where it's all a bit arty and weird.
I think we're all...
I did some GFW interviews earlier.
Garnet, we're also beaten down by the Wii. That's like, oh, it looks like an N64 game. I guess I'll buy it. Thanks.
Since when the Wii is a 480p,
That's wrong. It's a GameCube
not
game.
HD machine.
No,
Why are you uptight about the graphics?
Animal Crossing was originally a Nintendo 64 title in Japan, and it's using the same fucking graphics now. Yeah, they're a little higher res. Whatever. There's a new environment. Looks like a city. Who cares? It's still bad graphics. Still.
You're
But
wrong.
you can speakerphone with 8 people.
At least it has online.
It's
only-
still
it's-
Animal Crossing. It's still connected through the internet. I can bring my friends in. I can play this game together with them. I
Well,
can do
and
all those
I'm
things
gonna
I
buy-
wanted
I'm
to do in
gonna
Animal
buy it.
Crossing.
I'm going to begrudgingly buy it because I like Animal Crossing, but do I want it? I wanted more innovation. I really did.
Okay, first of all, let's talk about the visuals. What would you have done to make them look better and not lose the Animal
How
Crossing
about create
style?
a new graphics set? You can make a sequel. It doesn't have to have the same fucking actual graphics. It does. You understand? It's the same. It's the same graphics, dude.
I like
exactly. Like there's a new environment, and you can use your Mii as a mask. But
It has widescreen support.
oh Jesus, that's better than
There's
better than some
novelty
games.
because not all the Wii games do that.
Baby steps. Baby steps.
It's funny. It's the
can
funniest
fish
fucking part of
with
it is
your
Because I was looking forward to the
Of the
Mario
five of
World
us,
wallpaper either side.
of the 5 of us, I bet I'm the only one who doesn't own a Wii still.
Probably.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I gave mine to my nephews.
All right, so I'm like the guy
Well,
who
you
doesn't
can
own
enjoy.
a Wii, and I'm arguing
you
that
can
I think it's
enjoy
cool.
sending letters and paying bells and fishing. Did the 4-player fishing look like scintillating?
He can send emails to you through Animal Crossing.
You know what? I enjoyed them on the GameCube, and I enjoyed them on the DS. And you're right. I probably will enjoy them on the Wii.
See, you're exactly what Nintendo wants as a consumer. A
What?
sucker.
One of us. One of us.
I'm sorry that I like games that I like, that I have fun with. I mean, I just really genuinely have fun. Like, there was nothing else in that conference that got me excited, but I was
Come on,
I
Wii
was
music?
I was so wanting to see Animal Crossing, and I was so happy to see that it had the sort of interactions and stuff in it.
Have you talked to Damien? He was backstage streaming that, and Miyamoto for like 10-15 minutes before he went on stage was walking around with these hands in front of his face. They didn't know what he was doing. It's like, was this some kind of Tai Chi or something? But he was practicing.
Someone was twittering about Damien being back. Oh no, it was Ryan was twittering because he was getting messages from Damien, and it was things like, apparently Miyamoto's wearing a cowboy hat, and apparently Iwata's doing this, and apparently, and I'm like, oh
there
my
was some
god,
crazy,
what's gonna happen?
there was some crazy shit going on backstage at the Nintendo press conference.
I mean, I might also buy Wii Music, but am I impressed by it? No. Is it what
I don't see myself buying Wii Music, actually.
I might, but yeah, like the most excited I can get about a Wii game is like, I guess I'll buy that. Like resign to my fate.
You like the
as a
wave,
Wii consumer.
you like the wave race minigame?
Well, the
That was
Wii
good.
Sports looks interesting, but it's next year, and you have to put that stupid thing on my Wii remote to play it.
I don't
Like,
understand why that's next year. I really
yeah,
don't.
it's
You
bad.
got to
Yeah.
tighten up those graphics.
Do they have to
Level
like?
5, right?
Do they
Really.
need that time to manufacture all the Wii Motion Pluses?
I don't know, actually. There's been rumors that the next version of the Wiimote would actually have the thing built into it.
It makes sense. It has to.
But
I still think I think we can talk about that in a second. I think they're creating haves and have-nots, and that's never worked.
But I thought when they threw a picture of Mario and Zelda on screen, like, oh, we're still making these games too. Don't worry. It's like, no, that's not good enough. Like, that's not good enough.
I think I
agree with you.
What about the way they announced Pikmin 3?
At a press conference later?
Yeah, it wasn't even a press conference. It was in a round table. And he was asked, like, are you guys working on Pikmin? And was like, oh yeah, I forgot.
Did we not mention that?
Working on Pikmin.
That's not really announcing Pikmin 3. It's just like announcing intent to continue that franchise.
But that was the last new franchise Nintendo's created.
Microsoft's been in this business for one generation. Nintendo's been in it for 4, 5 generations. They have a cast of beloved characters, and they didn't use any of them as anything other than bullet points during the presentation. And that's sad. I mean, to not have any of their key characters really taking the stage.
What would you have rather had? Like them announce like Mario does shovelware.
I thought they were going to announce WiiWare games with their properties in them.
I think that would have been a good way to do it.
It's probably a Tokyo Game Show.
Now, here they're having a WiiWare Summit now. That's what I hear. But
interesting.
Regardless, I think there's no way to come out of that press conference as a traditional hardcore Nintendo fan and not feel comfortable.
Actually, I am glad you brought up WiiWare. Like, I'm so disappointed they didn't talk about it more.
Wasn't even mentioned.
Because I think some of the stuff on there is phenomenal.
You brought that up as a point, and I think
they're
most
having
of us
a separate summit. But like, I felt in general, like, if I thought Microsoft didn't announce games, like Nintendo didn't announce. They announced a grand total of like 4 games at their press conference, and that's across DS and Wii.
Yeah, that really was. And how bizarre was that montage of third-party games, especially when it ends on Medal of Honor?
They should have shown Mad World. That was the most talked about third-party Wii game.
Right.
And Medal of Honor makes no sense because on top of everything...
You mean Call of Duty?
I mean Call of Duty. Sorry, whatever it is. Yeah, it's the same game, right?
Call of Duty, Honor, Badge.
Exactly.
The house of the Call of Duty.
Did any of you play Mad World?
It wasn't playable.
It's not playable?
No.
Yeah, they haven't let us play it. So the thing about Call of Duty that's crazy is they showed a game that's multi-platform that's running on the Call of Duty 4 engine that everyone's going to be thinking about the next-gen versions and how gorgeous they look.
This is like the short bus version of the Call of Duty 4 engine.
But it did look better than most Wii shooters.
It's the same game.
Right.
But it looked better than most Wii shooters, you'll agree.
I agree. I still think it was an odd choice. Mad World would have been. I mean, obviously, they were very programmed.
They were afraid the mommy bloggers would run out like yelling and screaming if they showed Mad World.
And they're not going to run out of people being burned up by flamethrowers and guys sitting there and they're in
but how much they didn't show that much of Call of Duty other than the on rails thing.
Yeah, they still showed a lot of guys like with guns like shooting.
But there's a huge difference between Call of Duty and Mad World.
With,
like seriously,
people being chainsawed in half, and road signs shoved through their face, and.
But Mad World's it's still very cartoon animated violence.
I don't think they would have shown it. At the,
seriously. No way.
I mean, but it's not like Nintendo did a bad job for what Nintendo set out to do at that press conference.
Yeah.
They succeeded in their intent, but their intent is nothing to do with me anymore.
Well,
really.
I think the big thing. So their big climax was Wii Music and
Robbie drums.
And Robbie, I mean, how weird that it starts out with Robbie drums playing the more detailed part of the game, which is the drum kit where you have like the 2 different pedals and the Wii balance board.
The first of many drum solos I'd be hearing at
E3.
Yeah, it's true.
the new drum solo quest. So Robbie drums comes out, and who do we find out he played?
Paula Abdul. He played drums in her last music video.
It was a very spirited performance.
You can go to his DJRobbieDrums.com. Check that shit out.
Once the entire stage was full of Nintendo representatives,
mostly from Treehouse,
all playing it, it just looked silly.
It sounded like Wiggles on crack.
And sounded like garbage.
That was what was most telling. It sounded. I was like, wow, this is. Oh, I don't want to do this. It sounds
I've seen
terrible.
like a million YouTube videos that play the Super Mario theme better than that.
I know. So yeah.
Why does it have to be shitty MIDI sounding music?
Exactly. I mean, you can't use samples.
Yeah.
My fucking Casio from 15 years ago does that, and it plays bossa nova.
But we all walked out.
We were making Magna Casio tone jokes.
However, we all walked out knowing that Animal Crossing and Wii Music would sell at least 5 million copies worldwide. Of course, they've
already taken out loans against the sales for that.
They're first-party Nintendo games. They're bona fide guaranteed successes. Nothing we say has any bearing on what these games do.
Anybody want to bet on what Grand Theft Auto on DS looks like?
I wish they would have shown
anything. We think it returned to top-down?
Yeah.
I think it's returned to top-down.
I think one of the screens will be top-down. The other will have some 3D stuff.
Yeah, but I think they're going to go cartoony.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Cell-shaded whores.
Maybe like the cinematics in the top screen will be 3D-ish.
I also bet it's a fall 2009 title.
Is it really?
Is it?
I bet.
Oh, you bet.
Oh,
I bet. I wager.
I'd bet spring.
Maybe they can get that same character style that they did for that. Remember the My Sims?
One of my guys went and talked to somebody about it, and they said that, that sort of like a souped-up version of the GBA game, but yeah, a new art style was the only kind of definitive anything we could get out of them.
Makes sense. Well, Rockstar will play it close to the vest until we get, until they have something that's much more polished. Okay, so then we go from there, we take the bus ride away across town, and we finish off the press conferences with Sony.
Sony had a very exhaustive press conference. They had a lot of ground to cover. Perhaps too much ground to cover.
So first off, I'll give them props for this. That stage set with all those televisions was freaking impressive.
Oh, yeah,
that was really impressive.
If that's the best thing they did,
that was impressive.
They made televisions.
It was a very impressive stage.
The best thing they did was have an amazing suite of PSN titles buried in like hour 2 of that press conference. But first they did Resistance 2.
Well, first they come out and they do a whopping 2 PS3 games. 2.
Before they switch gears. They
switch
gears back and forth a lot. But the problem,
I know they switch gears a lot.
The problem is, well, speaking of gears, their first game, Resistance 2, goes straight up against Gears 2's opening slot. And I think Gears 2 beat it because as impressive as that big monster is in Resistance 2.
What it struck me as was all due respect to Brian's new home, but it looked to me like they sort of sat around and said, you know what? Gears of War has some big fucking monsters in it. Can we make a bigger fucking monster than that?
They're both like Twilight.
Really cool.
Yeah.
I will say this though. We got to see Resistance after the fact, and it looks much better in person than it does show on video. Like infinitely better in person. And they also showed the San Francisco Bay level, which the scale they're reaching.
The Resistance 2 trailer they showed after the demo looked really, really great.
But it wasn't nearly as good as the Gears demo or the Gears trailer. Like the Gears 2 trailer was really good too. It overshadowed the Mad World trailer, which is one of the best video game trailers in the last couple of years.
They didn't shy away from large-scale bosses in the first game, okay?
No.
They had the big dude who had the thing you had to overheat,
Yeah.
And then they had the boss you had to fight in the tank later on that was very big. So, they haven't shied away from big bosses before. This is not something new. And it's a great way for them to illustrate the scale of the city. I personally think that, people haven't brought it up a lot. I think one of the reasons that presentation didn't quite click so well is it wasn't as smoothly polished as the Gears one.
Well,
there were parts where the
transitions were really shaky.
There were parts where the transitions didn't work. You weren't really sure what was happening.
There's the difference. So, Resistance, that was a real level.
A live demo.
The Gears was a live demo too, but that level was not the way that level is going to play out in single player. They cut out the best sections and stitched them together.
There's
Gears you're talking about?
Yeah. There's some other cool parts of that level in Gears that I actually there's some other cool parts of that Gears level that they took out that they just don't have finished yet. They're going to be pretty neat.
Right. Well, Cliff talked about that. There's a mini game you can do with Dom using the cranes and stuff.
Right. There's some cool stuff.
Yeah,
in there.
they've talked about it. That's interesting. It talks about the way you do the co-op. My main concern going back to Resistance is they have this huge scale. Are you going to use it, or is it just going to be basically really nice looking skyboxes that you can never reach? Because if you give me a huge sandbox, I want to fucking play in it.
I agree.
Don't tease me and then not let me.
Don't lead you by a nose ring through
exactly.
it. I agree.
I don't think anyone think Resistance 2 showed poorly, but I think perhaps a different demo would have been.
It was cool, but the problem to me was that the climactic moment at the end was the worst of the transitions. When the monster took a swipe at you, you didn't really
threw you through the window.
Yeah, you didn't understand that you'd be hit and why you were flying.
The demo I saw though, you don't get thrown in the window, and it was running better in the demo I saw than it did run on the PS3. That I don't understand that. I don't know if it's different builds or just what happened wasn't necessarily supposed to happen. But it looked better when I saw it in person.
Well, as Brian told us, Ted almost died.
It's true.
Did you hear that? Ted almost died when he's inside. That he gets thrown in he goes across the catwalk and he's in the tower building. He's going down the staircases.
Yeah.
He got caught on a sofa and he was literally milliseconds from dying.
I first thought when you said that Ted almost literally died.
No. No.
No.
Why? What happened?
I didn't hear that.
Heart rate spike.
So I think although they showed Resistance 2 probably not the best way, I think they showed a Little Big Planet in a really creative and fun way.
Yeah, seriously. I couldn't believe that was very clever.
Yeah, having been through a million of these press conferences to actually see bar graphs in a new way, an exciting and fun way. That's
more impressive is the fact they were running it live and the guy using Sackboy to trigger everything. He had the biggest pressure on him, and he hit every single transition.
Alex,
he hit almost every transition spot on, and every time it was funny.
That presentation was the slap in the face reminder to me of why Little Big Planet wound up being my game of the show. It's how much can be done and how little we've actually seen because we've been focused on them making a game of it. And I'm telling you, launch day for that game is day one. And then they have a very, very well thought out long-term plan for that game, and it's going to be really fun to watch. It's going to be really fun to watch. And so, creativity there. And then they move right into PS2. And there's like, I tweeted right away.
Do we punish them for having new PS2 games?
No. As a matter of fact, I'm honestly at this point, as great of an installed base as it is, and we look at the MPDs, there's some strong reasons to make PS2 games. I'm actually surprised there aren't some studios that are saying, let's go back and make a PS2 game.
It's happening. You're starting to see some of the licensed properties coming to Wii, DS, and PS2, and that's the lineup. And that's the smartest thing to do because there's millions of people out. I mean, look at like Iron Man is still selling well on PS2.
Yeah.
And it's done way better than any other platform.
Well, and ultimately, if you're going to buy a licensed game, if you have a PS3 that has the backwards compatibility, like you're not buying those games for graphics anyway. So
you're not cutting yourself. The other thing about backwards compatibility is you're not cutting anybody off. PS2 games all play on PS3. I mean, we're not talking about PlayStation 1 games.
But do they don't play on the 40 gig.
You're a little backwards.
Yeah, PS1 plays on them all.
PS1 plays on them all.
40 gig does not play PS2 games.
Right, and the new 80 gig is a 40 gig, so backwards compatibility is going away very soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
From September, there's nothing new being manufactured that will run PS2 games.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I love getting confused about these things.
Especially when it completely unravels your entire argument. But what you're doing is shining a light on yet another example of getting it ass backwards at Sony.
Sony not talking to between departments.
Because the whole point of saying, look how great the PS2 was them. I mean, the reason I think it got so much emphasis was all about Nintendo. It's like, it's them it's obfuscation for the fact that the PS3 isn't as big as it should be at this point. And it's like, look, we're still speaking to millions and millions of consumers, and there's new games. And
I did like their new turn of phrase referring to the amazing sales of the PS2 and maybe like not as good sales for the PS3. PS2 is their research and development money. They're taking the money straight from PS2 and working to make PS3 more cost effective.
Well, the argument I was going to construct, and I still think it works to some degree, is we've seen a lot of very, very creative endeavors in the download space. And if you wanted to do a larger scale game that was very risky and very creative, wouldn't the economies of developing on PS2 make it much more viable for a publisher to greenlight and say, you know what, I'll greenlight it on PS2?
You would think.
And so where are those games? I think there's still a potential for some teams to come along and do some really interesting and creative stuff on PS2.
There's a lot of shit coming on PS2 that you don't see. They don't send it to you guys, and they don't market. It goes out, and you find. I mean, like these days, have you been in a 7-Eleven in the Midwest recently?
Here in San Francisco, they have.
Sure, of course I have, John.
There's like PS2 games and DS games that you have never heard of in those places.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. You ever seen any of Destination Software's games on DS? They have like a real-time strategy game on DS. I can't remember what it's called. It's actually not bad. You can find it in a Walmart or in a 7-Eleven, but you're not going to find it in a GameStop or a Best Buy.
Does it come
or
with
in our office?
Packed-in bass lure or something?
No, I mean they're like $19 and $29 games, and they sell them like in these places where this is the only store around, and there's a little section that's video games. And
I was getting visions of like Puppy Chow for the Atari 2600.
But there's a bunch of these. There's a bunch of PS2 games that are coming out from people like, DSI that Zoo are a part of that did Order Up, and Crave are still doing PS2 stuff. Things like George of the Jungle, stuff like that, and they sell in respectable numbers, and they don't cost very much for them to produce.
So, knowing the historic precedent of the importance of getting to $99. With PS2 where it's at, and I understand they're making money off of it and they're selling. I mean, Patrick Klepek took me to task for tweeting this. I mean, why not finally take PS2 to $99?
I would assume because they're still able to sell an enormous number of them at $129.
I'm sure they have a spreadsheet that tells them.
I understand that. I understand that.
Dip, and they announced like the the Lego Batman bundle, which is
and
cheaper.
it ramps it brings the price up because you have the bundle. And I just still think that if they brought that machine to $99, yes, that means they won't make as much, but it opens up that door to that other part of the
But when the grown-up
audience.
machine is still $399, there's no pressure on them to do that.
I understand that.
And their handheld is $129. What?
It's still $129.
I understand.
We don't know how much PSP is.
It's $129.
Oh, recently, it's $129.
I'm thinking of it like this. I understand the near-term economics of it. I think long term, though, if they bring that machine at $99, it starts putting PlayStations in those other households that wouldn't buy
you understand, like, complaining about Sony's long-term PS2 strategy when all the competitors have been dead in the ground for years. Like, I don't think you're doing your long-term strategy right,
and you know,
Sony, in the ninth year of the system's
I'm not
life.
talking about PS2 exclusively. I'm talking about it in terms of building. I mean, I'm thinking like high level, like building the audience for video games in general and building the Sony brand. Let's say that you're a person who, for you, $99 is a trigger spot. You buy a PS2. Does that not give you some greater proclivity in a year or two to say, you know what, I'm going to buy a PS3 for $300?
I think they're still waiting for the sales
because you become a gamer.
Sales to drop.
I mean, if they're still selling hundreds and thousands of units a month.
I understand.
What's the US,
Again, I understand
what's
the
US
economy
install
of it.
base number now?
PS2?
Over 100 million.
Right, so
120, I believe.
that's more than
It's absurd.
So it's
one in three American households. That's
but then
like
they
that's
bring the
about
argument,
as like,
how many are dormant, how many are broken, all that kind of
how
stuff.
many-
They
how
still
many are
exist and they were
dupes?
still purchased.
But the fact that they're doing that and they're still selling, what was it? The MPD number for June was 150 or something. 40. Yeah.
188.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're still doing pretty
I
well.
know.
There's no economic pressure on them to drop the price.
560.
I know there's no economic. I'm thinking of it in a different way. I'm thinking of it in terms of audience. I think there's like a different person who starts to buy at $99, and I would love to see the video game business start reaching out again and being in that broader
Well, there was
space.
some rumors a while ago that there was a third SKU of like PS2 coming.
Another remanufactured.
Yeah.
When PS1 hit $99, it was really eye-opening how much that
also
changed.
It didn't last very long at $99.
Because it
that was
really had been
that was
swept
really
away.
them saying, okay, we are now entering the final chapter.
That's when they changed the title to the PS1 spelled out.
And I was kind of hoping that they would take the PS2 to that audience and that level before it got to that point, and not just be okay, we're done, let's kick it to the curb.
I was surprised there were still PS2 games at E3 that I want to play, and that surprises me. So as long as that continues to exist, I'll be very happy.
Yeah, but is that more of a testament to the quality of the PS2 games or the lack of quality on PS3?
I think it's more a testament to the quality of PS2 games.
So, PlayStation Network. Interesting PlayStation
As I've
Network.
said,
really strong
as I've
showing.
said, Sony's first-party PSN stuff is this
Okay, so
single.
before we-
Besides EA, you're right, has an amazing.
Before we get to
suite
the
of
games, how about the extended presentation on how they're going to get the game functions right finally, and then the 20 to 30 second video of some crap in home as we have this home thing still, we're going to make it one day.
Yeah, of course they do.
Oh dear. I wonder what Phil thinks of all that. I mean he won't talk about it. I've asked him a couple times.
I'm sure he's sitting in his office in London at Atari wondering why Sony is systematically undoing everything he spent the last 10 years doing.
I think he's probably more concerned with Alone in the Dark sales.
Well, he inherited that.
That's true, but
He demoed it for us.
yes. He's really excited.
But he has Jamie Oliver's cooking. Whatever it's called.
what's
Cooking with Jamie Oliver?
Actually, someone called me and said you have got to go over there and see Jamie Oliver's cooking. It was
Another
most
cooking.
exciting.
I know you're a fan of
Mara game.
You're a fan of his Tuka. No, Atari also had this amazing DS game that doesn't have a title yet. Did you guys see it? Where it's like a retro. It's like two different gameplay styles, and it's like 16-bit graphics. It doesn't have a title, but it looks awesome.
Oh.
Interesting.
Anyway.
Okay, so
We got sidetracked from Sony to Atari.
So first of all,
that's my
indicative of the
No, but PSN, dude.
the great news
Flower.
Flower. Look
Okay, we'll get to that.
awesome.
I think the great news is that they're going to get the multiplayer things that we want into the system by this fall. Finally, thank you. I can't say thank you to Sony enough for that. You know what? I've said it all along. I don't care about home. That's fine. If home happens, it's great. If it doesn't happen, that's fine. But get this part running, and it's too late. I mean, it's not too late. It's late in the game, but thank God they're going to get that shit in there. Unified login. Thank you. It's about thank you. Thank you. I'm glad they got that part down.
I would like them to get to a point where I know, and we've talked about this before. The system update stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I had like
incremental and not
an
not downloading
incremental
the whole
background
thing.
or
That's
whatever.
not happening anytime
And a lot of
soon.
people have said, "Well, what's the big deal? You only have to wait for 10 minutes for it." We had some kids in the office today, and they wanted to play some games on PS3, and I turned it on, and it needed to do a system update. And by the time it had got done, and it had rebooted twice,
They had chocolate all over their face. And
They were probably gone.
They were kind of like, I don't really want to play anymore, you know?
Maybe the PS2.
Yeah, with the PS2, it just works when you put the disc in.
all right, Shane, go nuts. PSN games.
Flower.
I'm actually with Shane on this. I drank the PSN Kool-Aid. It tasted good.
It's very good Kool-Aid.
So,
I agree.
Flower, Ragdoll Kung Fu.
Genova Chen is, by the way, super freaking cool.
He is
Yeah.
cool. Fat Princess.
Fat Princess.
Can't say enough good things about Fat
Putting
Princess.
people in hospital is so awesome.
Crash Commando, surprisingly fun. A lot of people didn't play that one. It's fun.
Crash Commando is a brilliant idea. I really, really like what they're doing
What
with
is that one?
How would you explain it?
I would explain it like this. They take the idea of the length of an episodic game, but instead of thinking, oh, I'm going to sell you 5 episodes, they think, you know what, actually, I'm going to make you a nice, compact chunk of really solid Crash game. We're talking about
different games.
Ratchet game. What are you talking about?
You're talking about Ratchet and Clank.
I was talking about Ratchet and Clank.
Crash Commando is
I didn't see Crash
multiplayer shooter. It's 2D, you're really little, and you're super acrobatic. And
the one that has like the little line that. Yeah, I did actually see that.
It's pretty fun. It's very old-fashioned. It's like an old piece
Sorry,
of
I wanted to talk about what I was talking about.
But yeah, Ratchet and Clank,
I apologize.
Quest for Booty.
Yeah, we were walking in the show floor, and we both were walking by the Sony section. They had it running, and it caught both of our eyes because like it looks just like Ratchet, the retail game.
Right.
One new mechanic, one new toy to play with, and about a
marketing line that writes itself.
Yeah.
Put booty in the title.
Second booty game number 2.
Yeah.
But also Siren, which is coming out this week.
Since I interrupted because I wanted to talk so bad about Ratchet, Crash Commando, you played it?
I did.
So it looked to me a little bit like that Gastronaut Studio game that I liked sort of for...
the Smash Brothers Brawl rip?
Yeah, does it have like a Smash Brothers Brawl sort of feel to it?
Wild Arms?
It's like
what was that called?
It reminded me more of, it's like Scorched Earth meets like Turrican meets Solar Jetman, if that makes any sense to you.
Wow. So
Turrican
That's very
I'm more
referential.
confused now.
So it's in 2D platforming on-foot shooter?
Yes.
Okay,
Multiplayer
I'm on board.
online. Yeah, it's pretty wacky. It's kind of like Contra anyway.
Was it twin stick or was it twin stick to aim
It's
and then
twin
you shoot?
stick. Yeah,
Okay,
it
so
is
that's
twin
cool.
stick.
I thought it looked really good.
It was crazy. It's fun.
All right, so back to that rest of them.
But yeah, we just named like 7 games. I think there were probably more actually there as well.
Yeah.
But that's just like in the Wipeout was a no-show, but we found out why.
Because kids are having seizures.
Flower is the That Game Company one, right?
Yeah.
I am so head over heels in love with that game.
Looks beautiful.
It's another game that, like Eden, you sit down and I play, and instead of getting stressed, I get infinitely more relaxed, and I'm just zoning into it. I'm like, wow, this is awesome. I'm totally having a great time.
So yeah, all those are Sony's, and all the really good multi-platform stuff like Bionic Commando and Street Fighter, things that everyone's getting, they're getting as well. Mega Man,
right?
But it showed me that the Sony titles, especially Flower and Fat Princess, are just so out there, and you're not going to see that kind of stuff happening.
No, they definitely are more willing to take risks with their PSN titles.
Yeah, Xbox Live Arcade had some cool stuff like Geometry Wars and Galaga, things I'm excited about.
But I look at Pixel Junk, like their first game was Pixel Junk Racers, not received all that well. Had that been put out on Xbox Live Arcade, would they have still said, hey, bring your next game, bring this monster game, Desktop Defense Force game, bring it out for our system? Would they have done that yet? PS3 stuck with them. And now they have a bona fide, potentially a large franchise. Every time Pixel Junk puts a game out, people are excited now.
So we're going to talk about this in news, but it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with the XNA Xbox 360 community games, because this has the opportunity to maybe be their answer to these sort of highly creative games. I had a good interview with Chris Satchel earlier this week from Game Fest, and that was one of the things he pointed out is that, creativity, sure, whatever guys want to do, we're opening up the door to them to make those games. So hopefully there'll be some interesting stuff all around. It's good news for indie development. And then PS3 or Sony wrapped up their conference with something I really, really appreciate that Microsoft didn't do and Nintendo didn't really do, some forward-looking stuff.
Well,
and I think that's exciting.
We haven't talked about any PSP stuff yet. Do we do that first before the forward-looking?
Well, I wish they would have spent more time. They didn't really talk about Loco or Patapon. They mentioned them, but they didn't really show them.
Well, their big thing was Resistance.
Yeah, Resistance, Retribution.
Done by
I heard really good things. The Siphon Filter.
Done by the Siphon Filter group, which did a great job with their prior PSP. What were you excited about out of the PSP stuff?
Well, I wanted you guys to talk about that because, from watching it on the feed, it didn't.
It looked well. It looked early.
It's early still.
Well, the people that I talked to said it looked good.
Because if there's anything,
I saw the demo. It looked pretty good.
I don't understand why Sony keeps insisting on trying to make these console-style 3D action games on PSP.
Well, some of them work.
When it seems very evident that the handheld market is something else now. It's like people are craving different kind of experiences, and they keep trying to give us PS2 games on PSP.
But a lot of the best-selling games like GTA and Siphon Filter are traditional God of War, are PS2 experiences. And they're not. It's not like the Loco Roco is setting the world on fire.
And SOCOM games did both. They did very
Huge
well
sellers.
on PSP.
Yeah. So Andrew, you were talking about the aiming system that they've incorporated in this game and it being more friendly to not having dual sticks. Describe that a little more.
Well, it's basically how I described it during the E3 show, but the box that has it's just like a bigger reticle inside of smaller reticle, and then whatever is in the big reticle, your small reticle will instantly lock to it.
Oh, okay.
So you don't have to worry about not having twin
It's
sticks.
kind of it's a fancy way of having an
Auto
aim
aim.
assist.
Yeah.
But it makes sense.
They showed Super Stardust for PSP, which is a download only game.
Oh,
We actually got to
yeah,
play
that
it.
was
You got to play it.
Yeah, they were outside letting us play it.
Sweet.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can talk about this, but like it's Super Stardust on PSP. It's rad. If you like it on PS3, you're gonna love it.
Fuck
on
yeah,
PSP.
it's housemarquee.
But I do wonder.
It looks really good.
I do
too.
wonder if people are willing to download these games. Like I don't even know. Like I've yet to download. I've yet to purchase. Well, I bought Beats, but like it's not easy yet to go to purchase games on your PSP.
Well, you can do it on PS3.
Yeah.
Right, but like for someone who just has a PSP,
Yeah.
you have to go to a computer.
But I don't think they're banking on that. I think they're
that's-
still trying to
yeah.
expand PlayStation
Wasn't
as a
isn't there a
brand.
download store app coming?
Eventually.
Yeah, eventually.
Yeah.
Eventually. It's on their list of other things to do as well.
I don't know if the PSP is going to last long enough for them to deliver on everything they keep saying they're going to
Well,
do.
I mean, there are leaked shots of this third iteration.
The
So
3000,
if they're going to put that out there, obviously you have somewhat.
I'm
of a
not
long-term
remotely
strategy.
convinced that that's a 3000. I still think it might just be a
Who knows?
Well,
development
and the
kit.
hardware is selling like mad in Japan still.
And the U.S.
And the
Yeah.
US doing well.
Yeah.
It is doing well. We're going to hit that in just a
Yeah.
second. Okay, so then we're going to bring this thing to a close.
So people can say they kind of glossed over MotorStorm and Killzone. They just showed them in a montage. Like
Right.
perhaps they should have broken those out.
Or SOCOM.
or SOCOM is part of that. And then at the
I'm
end,
really surprised they didn't show MotorStorm because it would have brought some nice balance to
Yeah.
some of the stuff they were
well,
showing.
it's looking quite good now.
yeah.
But so they at the end they decided to show some 09 stuff or beyond. And,
Yeah.
And
Very beyond.
a really great little God of War teaser CG trailer.
Oh yeah, thanks for that.
Coming
Yeah.
2010. Have fun,
Kratos,
kids.
he's
Well,
pissed. The
and-
gods are angry. Okay, it's all
And
messed
then DC Universe Online, which I think was a smart show for them.
Yeah.
They brought Jim Lee out, who's
That-
well respected.
That's
and-
playable at Comic-Con this week. So.
But then they wheeled out massive action game.
Wait. You're skipping the game that fucking blew me away.
Oh, which one was that? Oh,
Infamous.
Infamous looked brilliant.
Holy
yeah.
crap,
Oh,
that game.
Sucker Punch.
Yeah.
I think it wins most improved.
I think
it looked. I mean, the trailer you showed last year was pretty rad.
It's a lot better now.
Dude,
Well, it was actual gameplay this year. It's always
all
going to look better.
I'm going to say is Prototype better get its act together.
Well, they better get a publisher.
They better get a publisher. They better get their act
Are you
together.
sure that's not
because
becoming a Spider-Man game?
I'm pretty sure it's not
He's
becoming
going
a
to
Spider
become
game.
Venom.
I'm not.
Just make him black. There
Yeah.
you go. He's Venom. Whee!
Rhythm dance-off minigame.
I'm not sure it's going to be coming anything.
Oh.
So I mean, we'll see what happens. But boy, I mean,
That didn't sound
how
right.
good did it look?
Infamous looked so good.
The character model looked fantastic. The visuals looked fantastic, and it was definitely captured in game.
Yeah.
It
No,
looked-
I don't know
Sucker
why
Punch
they didn't show
are going to
more of
finally
that.
get the love they've deserved all this
Man,
time.
I'm
I don't know
telling
why
you.
they didn't show more of it. Like, why just have the
because
one
it's
trailer?
next year. Because they wanted to stay focused on what's coming up this fall. And I think
They put it in a huge block of games coming in 09 or 10.
I think Sony did a really good job of striking the balance that Microsoft especially ought to emulate, of not just being pig-headed and saying, "Oh, we're not going to show next year." You got to give your fans a reason to look forward to the next
That's
year.
what I thought was weird because, I mean, strategically, there's not many magazine covers to get out there anymore, and Sony chose to go with Game Informer on Infamous for its E3 cover. So to do that out for the gamers and then to kind of bury it in the presentation,
It doesn't make sense.
It really didn't.
They didn't bury it; they wrapped up with it.
No, but what I thought is its importance, the importance that was hinted at by the Game Informer cover story, was then diminished by the way that it was sort of downplayed.
Sandwich.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sandwiched
They
at the end
spent
of the
way more time on Mag.
Well, I better say, I would have finished on Infamous and not Game.
Exactly.
Finishing on Game was a little
now I'm
strange.
hearing,
Game.
Now I'm hearing that MAG is maybe called like SOCOM Haven War. Well, call it that.
Yeah.
Seriously, even if you're going to change the name, fucking call
Not
it SOCOM.
massivegameyouplay.com, whatever it's called. Like,
Massive game.
and they show a shitty CG trailer. Now they show us a real screenshot,
Which
after
looks like
E3?
SOCOM.
I don't know. I feel that announcement, like, it could have been huge, but they ruined it.
It was bollocksed. It was totally bollocksed. It was sad.
I had the press conference on in a window in the background while I was doing some other stuff, and it was like every time I looked, it was just shoot. I mean, like if you weren't watching the whole thing, it looked like all they were going for was chasing Microsoft on shooters. I mean, it was just like
As Microsoft chases Nintendo on the casual
it's like
market.
brown shooter followed by brown shooter followed by,
Well,
then MAG, the ultimate brown
But
shooter.
it is funny because like Sony's showing all these shooters, and then Microsoft is showing casual games, and then a bunch of JRPGs. It's like it's like who's
This was
fooling-
the
who's
bizarro
fooling who
E3.
here? Yeah,
Yeah.
it was all very bizarre.
All right, there you go. This was that's out. I hope everyone's happy. That was a good wrap up. Shane, should we do like our rankings, or anyone care?
Sure, yeah.
In terms of press conferences,
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think the big three sorted out, and how did you like? what's your overall perception?
I give Nintendo's press conference a D-. I give Sony's a C+. I give Microsoft's a C+, B-.
Okay.
B- for Final Fantasy.
I'd agree, except for I would give Microsoft like a B.
Okay, Andrew.
Yeah.
I don't know. Underwhelmed by
Underwhelmed.
pretty much
I
everything.
agree with Pactor's order anyway. I mean, like Microsoft's Nintendo, then Sony last.
I liked bits and pieces of everything.
I think Sony needs to decide who it really wants to appeal to. I think that's the biggest problem. Is it was so scattershot and kind of.
They just don't seem to have a unified vision.
Yeah.
I would agree, and I agree with Pactor's ordering, and I think that the thing that Microsoft managed to do was have two salvos that kind of fired across people's bow, which was Netflix and the Final Fantasy 13 wrap-up. So,
and I think like with Nintendo knows who their target is. I think that the issue was that E3 is not really the place for that anymore.
No, you're probably right. All right, I'll tell you what, this is the place for. This is the place for us to move on and get into the news. We got June NPDs coming up, so stick with us. We'll be right back with that. All right, we're back and ready to get into the NPDs to kick off the news segment.
They're a week old.
They're a week old, but that's fine.
We were kind of busy last week.
We were very busy last week. Let me just kind of give you the quick recap.
I did get NPD numbers updated via phone at dinner. I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed to hear them coming to me from somebody.
Anita Fraser, industry analyst at the NPD Group, also sent me a nice little cover sheet. Among other assessments, she has that even if growth slows over the back half of 2008, the industry is poised to achieve record-breaking revenues of over $22 billion for the year. And we're going to talk about hardware sales in a minute, so I'll give you one upside to the 360 because it's about to get smashed. They are doing great with their tie ratio. They're selling just under 8 software units for each unit of hardware. That doesn't help you very much, though, when you're getting outsold by the PSP. Seriously, outsold.
What is driving the PSP right now?
You know what? We've been talking about this all afternoon. Like, I have no goddamn idea what's selling.
It's the bundles. The bundles are such good deals. The God of War bundles specifically. You get super mad. You get super mad with it. Who doesn't want to buy
bundles? And maybe
good movie.
They've improved the device as like an internet utility pad when you're inside when you're in Wi-Fi areas.
If you think about everything
reading.
You can do with a PSP for $120, if you're like a 13-year-old, it's like an amazing device. And like compared to the DS, and the DS feels really old now.
Yeah.
PSP still feels kind of modern.
So in the hardware sales for June of 2008, DS just back on top, 783,000. Wii right behind it at 666,000.
The appropriate number.
That's huge.
We've made a deal with the devil to make all this money.
I mean, but like as Iwata says, what's amazing about those numbers is those are like November style numbers happening. In June.
Are they paradigm shifting numbers?
It is paradigm shift.
It's funny. It's not just 666. It's 666.7.
They rounded up, so it didn't look so bad.
Because they rounded up 666.
One thing that's interesting is I remember, we had a long conversation back when Luke was still here about how Grand Theft Auto wasn't going to be moving consoles, and there was some indication it didn't. Metal Gear Solid moved some consoles. PlayStation 3 hopped up to 400,000 units sold. Pretty nice.
Yeah, because there is a notable absence from the top 10 software.
Of Grand Theft Auto.
Grand Theft Auto.
Auto.
It's right outside the top 10. It's at number 11 for 360.
Interesting. We had the longer list from the Academy of Interactive Art and Sciences who reprinted that for us. So then we have 360 just barely holding on over PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. No wonder they lowered the price. They're obviously feeling some motivational factors. I also thought it was interesting. I did not get my spin doctoring email from Edelman. Did you get one?
No.
There was no June spin doctoring from Edelman.
Do you think the PSP experienced some kind of like halo effect from Metal Gear even? I mean, just like associating the brand and the fact that it is the only handheld with like recent Metal Gear.
There are Metal Gear games
I mean,
on
there's
PSP.
4.
That's possible, but like I haven't
doubt
seen
it.
any indication of that.
Interesting. Then in the software sales, quick look at the top 10. Metal Gear Solid 4, 775,000 individual units. According to the other number I saw, it was close to a million
with the bundle
with the bundle
bundles.
packs because that wasn't included in there. Number 2 game, and it dropped pretty quickly down to 420,000. DS Guitar Hero.
Still big.
I
Very
know.
big.
Marketing wins.
What the fuck?
Marketing wins.
And they already announced the next SKU in like 3 months. Like
Right, wait, and then they link together.
enjoy buying 4 of those a year.
Yeah. Milking, that's coming. And then
I do hope there's more TV ads with people riding on plasticine donkeys or whatever the fuck it is.
All right. Ninja Gaiden 2 coming in the third position. I thought that was a big win for Ninja Gaiden, especially despite the fact of it release time.
I was shocked
that it finished
by that number.
Seriously.
I thought it was going to come in at maybe a couple hundred and then sort of dribble away over time, but that's an impressive number.
Yeah, it was
really
tied
was
with the Wii Fit balance board.
Yeah.
Then I think the rest of the other interesting takeaway I had from this is that Lego Indiana Jones took the 8, 9, and 10 positions, making it by title, it was the biggest single individual seller. It had 1.1 million units sold.
And what are the SKUs?
This is the argument I wanted to make. So the SKUs are Wii, DS, and PS2. And we were talking about this upstairs. I think that the Wii, this is one of the reasons also I wanted to see PS2 get done at $99. I think the Wii is sort of transitioning into being the PS2. It's getting that broad audience. It has that very, very perfect tie into this larger scale market.
And it won't be a very jarring visual transition for your family.
Well, the most interesting thing, one of the more interesting things there, you had those 3 SKUs. The next SKU for Lego Indiana Jones is the 360 version, all the way down to number 20.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I think people might have wised up, hey, $60 for the same damn Lego game again? Maybe not.
And then again, talk about the Guitar Hero side. Aerosmith, not really.
I hear it's tanking at retail, and I'm happy.
Not really knocking down the numbers.
Is that surprising though?
No, it's overpriced.
Encouraging.
It's overpriced and it's under songlisted.
The best-selling Guitar Hero Aerosmith was for the Wii at number 14.
Yeah, and actually,
well, Guitar Hero 3 was still the highest SKU for Wii.
Activision has been very, very much beating that drum of look at how well Guitar Hero is doing.
I mean, overall among the top 10 on Wii, like Guitar Hero Aerosmith was 7, Guitar Hero 3 was 8.
I mean, Guitar Hero 3 on Wii is outside all the other versions. It's true.
No surprises, and no surprise. So, moving on into this holiday season, Forbes had an interview with Iwata, the Nintendo's global president and CEO, and a couple of funny things that came out of this. Number one was that evidently they still can't make Wii's.
It's true.
They cannot duct tape those GameCubes together fast enough. He says in his interview, I can't give you 100% commitment that you'll be able to find a Wii this holiday season. He said that they could not imagine that, and they're talking about demand. We could not imagine demand would be so high in North America that it's completely caught them off guard, the popularity of Wii in America.
You can't demand.
How can he say that
2 years
now?
Yeah,
exactly.
Like,
right.
Were you not been paying attention for the last 2 years?
Well, it's funny. Nintendo just yesterday in Japan they announced the release date for Wii Music, some other stuff, and that people thought they were going to announce new colors of Wiimotes.
Yeah.
Instead, they announced new colors of Wiimote straps.
Awesome.
Get excited.
Is there a blue one?
There is.
I want a blue strap.
Blue
I
strap
hope
on
those
for
rubber
Garnet.
sock things are going to come in colors as well.
Wii condoms.
Wii condoms.
My elongated XXL Trojan condom.
It
Motion
vibrates.
Ribbed for your pleasure.
John, the best thing is with the Wii Motion Plus, there's 2 different condoms.
Oh,
Now you can have a 1-to-1 motion with it too.
God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wicked.
Did we use up all the jokes for that?
Double bag.
Nearly.
I think we're done.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
King double bag it.
You have to now.
There's a Cleveland Steamer joke, but I'm not going to make it. If there is a perception that Nintendo is ignoring the core gamers, it's a misunderstanding, Iwata said. We're sorry about the E3 media briefings, specifically for those who are expecting to see Nintendo show something about Super Mario or Legend of Zelda.
Someone Nintendo PR scratched a note on a piece of paper and said, please say this.
Please say that. He went on to point out that the fact of the matter is that big titles need a long, long development period.
Meanwhile, shit like MeWe Music really doesn't.
Yeah.
But the successor to Wii Sports isn't coming out until next year. Why does that need a really long development?
Because
Why don't they just
big
put
title.
out? Why don't they
Because
just put out the?
that dog, the AI and stuff, is going to blow you away.
They should just release the animated GIF of the Nintendo guys from the Zoolander thing. Just it prints money. That's all they need to say.
Shane, you played the frisbee catching dog game, right?
No, I wanted to.
Oh, you didn't play
Does it really need one-to-one motion from the controller?
I
don't think it does.
I was just theorizing. I can pretend that I'm throwing a frisbee at a pretend
But
dog
a lot of people can't
without
throw
a Wii.
frisbees right. So
Anyway.
If you have a Wii, you might want to run out, if you haven't already, and pick up one of the classic controllers, because a judge, is a federal judge in Texas, the U.S. District Court, did issue a ruling against Nintendo, and has also said that they cannot go back for another trial, or they will be appealing. So it's not a trial
about what?
But it's a lawsuit over patent violations.
So This comes from Bloomberg. The lawsuit is alleging that the sticks on the classic controller and also on the GameCube controller
and the Wavebird
are a violation of a patent by Ncaa. And one of the interesting things about this is that Nintendo's the only people who haven't settled with these guys. Sony licensed their patent in 2004, and Microsoft settled a looming lawsuit on May 1st before trial began. Nintendo's holding out and actually taking the screw you, we're going to fight in court.
They might win.
They might. I think what'll happen is they're just trying to bargain for.
There was a
position.
similar ruling handed down against against Sony for the Rumble stuff as well, and people were like,
talking about the immersion suits.
Yeah, like, and
right.
they ended up settling. Like, so this is the last step for settling.
Analog stick involved?
Evidently it's not. Actually, we have that in
That's
here.
Weird. I think it's the same stick.
Yeah.
It doesn't include sales of the nunchuck attachment for the Wii Remote, which was deemed not to violate Ncaa's patent. That comes from Doug Cawley, Ncaa's lawyer.
It's probably because the nunchuck requires another controller for functionality. It's not its own controller.
But doesn't the... Well, that one does as well. The Classic requires another controller functionality.
You're right.
John, you just cracked this case wide open.
Yes, I'll take my fee at the...
It would be very interesting to have someone in patent law describe what specifically is the violation.
Video game patents are ridiculous.
I was going to say, no, it wouldn't be interesting to anyone except for the person explaining the patent law.
Right, I mean, but break it down to where we could describe it. All right, done with that.
We'll do a special on What Up FM.
Hey, you asked the fucking question. I just bring it back for you. We also have had some fantastic minds bigger than your rivalry going on amongst the various heads of Microsoft and Nintendo. We'll start off. Both of these, by the way, came from MCV UK and various interviews they held. The first one was with Don Matrick. He was talking about the E3 conferences and said, I think we got more than 12 months work done, and the others went on an extended vacation. Hopefully they got some good vacation photos because they sure weren't showing up at work.
Like, I can kind of understand for Nintendo, maybe they actually had a vacation-themed game. I don't get it, but like, is you think like, yeah, Sony didn't show twice as many games as we did. No, they did. They really did. I don't know.
I mean, really, if you think that's spinning, wait till you hear the rest of this quote. I mean, that's the quote that everyone picked up in general. I like the rest of it where he goes and he says, we're building momentum, and we're on a scale that no other consumer electronic company or entertainment company has been able to achieve in 9 years.
I don't know. Apple seems to be scaling pretty hard. Their consumer electronics.
They've been scaling fairly well. Yeah. I hear they have some phone that's kind of
There's
popular.
There's still a line 2 weeks later.
Really?
I mean, have these people been there the whole time?
Why didn't they go day one? I had no problems getting mine.
The tree sitters over in Berkeley have to come down to the trees to get their iPhone 3Gs. We need someone to come stay for us.
That's probably true.
Kazurai, president of Sony Computer Entertainment, has also been very quick.
This should be good.
Very quick to get out a few quotes himself in response to.
What's his quote? What?
Huh? Was he even there? I don't even think he was there.
That's true. I didn't see him.
He wasn't around.
In response to a portion of Matrick's kickoff to E3 where he said that, so Matrick said, I'm willing to bet 360 will outsell PS3 this generation, which was part of his opening to the press briefing. Hirai said, well, the key word there is this life cycle or this generation. As you probably know, we're working on a 10-year life cycle. We've said that since day one, and we've proven it with PS1 and PS2. I guess Don is saying that they are also going to be embarking on a 10-year life cycle.
If we keep it on shelves long enough, eventually we'll sell them all.
Yeah. Right. or of course, he did also offer the alternative, which was, last time I checked, the Xbox went by the wayside 4 or 5 years after its launch.
Oh, good comeback, Potsy.
I know, it's very difficult. So maybe he's saying they're going to exit the 360 business within 5 years. It's very catty. Don't you love these guys? It's fantastic. It's like
Potsy is Don Matrick, Ralph Mouth.
Oh my God! Someone's gonna Photoshop that for us. It's gonna be fucking awesome. And then we had the. This was, of course, your big thing we've been arguing about.
It's a big deal.
I don't think it's as big a deal as you think it is. I think it's a lot of posturing, but we'll find out. Bungie's president, in speaking to Eurogamer.net, expressed. So there's been this disconnect between what really happened and why the Halo game wasn't on display and why the countdown on Bungie ended with nothing. Bungie President Harold Ryan has denied laughing when Xbox boss Don Matrick told him about the studio's latest Halo product not being shown at E3. His quote to Eurogamer was, keeping things clean, I certainly didn't agree with the decision to delay our news until sometime after E3. Bungie is always concerned first and foremost with our fans. Whenever we're prevented from exceeding their positive expectations, it's not a laughing matter. Okay. So that's definitely some strong language.
Yeah, that's like politics speak for I'm fucking pissed.
Yeah.
Right.
Like how often
hatred in the last couple of years, how often have
man.
you heard from Harold Ryan? He's not a guy that like clamors for the limelight.
No.
Like he's like I think the guys at Bungie like rightfully so are upset about this because like this reveal had been planned for months and months and months, and they'd obviously like gone through the effort of creating a trailer or gameplay or whatever, had this whole kind of arg on the website of counting it down, and then to have everything pulled from underneath your feet at the last second, that has to be incredibly frustrating.
Whether this is the case or not, one of the messages it sends is when that Microsoft isn't happy or confident or. I mean, regardless of anything else, I mean, like the response is that it wasn't up to the cut. Is that what's going on?
That's kind of the perception I was getting from the Microsoft folks I talked to.
I'm sure they were giving you that perception as much as they possibly could. Those poor lads at Bungie, they just couldn't get it together, so we had to show you in the movies. Yeah.
And lips.
Yeah.
And lots of Guitar Hero.
And lots of avatars.
Okay. Yeah, in case you forgot, Guitar Hero is available for the
But
Xbox 360.
honestly, I think...
Garnet, do you really believe Microsoft on this one?
You know what? I don't believe anybody because I don't know the
Greenberg wooed
story.
you again?
I don't know the story. I know there's multiple sides to it, and everybody's willing to jump.
I think the most
everybody loves Bungie because Bungie made Halo. Okay, I get that.
I think an interesting addition to the story is what was like revealed today is the fact that I was up in Seattle a couple weeks ago and I was talking to some of the Bungie guys. They were very excited having this big presence at PAX. That they had the Bungie Fan Fest was coming back. They were going to have a huge imprint on PAX. And so when this E3 thing went down, my initial reaction is, they're just going to announce it at PAX. It's going to make their home turf. This is going to be fine. Well, they've revealed today, FanFest is not coming back at PAX. They're not making the big announcement at PAX.
And who does that hurt?
The
it hurts the fans.
It hurts the fans.
It hurts the fans. But like, we don't know whose decision it was to like tell them they can't announce it at PAX.
Even if they don't announce it, they can still have FanFest. I mean, all they said in their post was, "Well, it just gives us more stuff to give away at the booth." Okay, I mean that's cool, but I mean, I think that
so they're just in a huff. Is that it?
That's what Garnet seems.
I think they're in a bit of a huff.
You think they're going to screw their fans over a huff? Like Bungie has always.
There's not going to be a fan fest. The fans are screwed.
Agreed, but like I mean, we don't know like who.
We don't know who
decision.
called that shot. But if Bungie really is independent at this point, Microsoft can't tell them not to have a fan fest. It's a fucking fan fest. They don't have to show the game. They could just have a fan fest. I mean, come on. If the Bungie guys showed up,
it's not like they're not showing up at PAX. They're showing up at PAX.
But like you don't. But what you don't realize is like this fan fest was probably tied into the goddamn game they didn't announce.
It was going to be based on that.
I'm just confused why Microsoft would want to like hurt the Halo fans.
I can't imagine. Like
it's very strange.
That's the part that I mean, the biggest disconnect I have is why would Microsoft go out of their way to piss Bungie off, who, by the way, is the whole reason the fucking Xbox even succeeded.
It ties into
They're all impressed with their 8-to-1 tie ratio. Well, most of those are people that bought Halo.
It ties into what you said earlier with the Activision Blizzard thing. Like Activision's giving Blizzard carte blanche. Bungie's not getting the same respect, seemingly, from Microsoft.
And that goes to the point that I originally talked about I think there's a strong schism inside Microsoft games about how do we connect with the Halo guys, and they need to get their house in order, and after they get their house in order, they need to patch things with Bungie, obviously the right way.
Agreed. I think that has to be a high priority.
And the more posturing there is, the harder that gets. I mean, it's like a couple that's like in some sort of weird separation.
They need couples counseling. They need to have a weekend retreat. Maybe that's why the Fan Fest was canceled.
They do.
They're going to go away.
like this.
They're going up to Whistler, and they're going to get in a hot tub together.
Yep. It's going to be special. It's going to be special.
And you know what? 9 months from now, we'd get some fucking fantastic results from that. So anyway, I'm not buying. My big thing is I'm not going to say anything because I honestly I hear both sides and they don't jive. There's obviously like something
somewhere between
some
both
shit we don't
sides
know
is
about.
probably the truth,
right?
Yeah.
And we don't know the story, so I'm not going to like spread rumors about it. And I feel bad for us because we get screwed out of the deal, and that kind of sucks. This one cracks me up. We're going to talk about
the headline you have.
Namco steps in to rescue Hellgate. First of all, does anyone really want Hellgate rescued? I mean,
good luck with that, Namco.
Wasn't kind of the good news of the Hellgate disaster that it might just kind of quietly slip off into hell?
Didn't people want Mythos to be rescued instead?
That's the right choice.
They do want Mythos to be saved, and I think Hanbitsoft out of Korea has that, and that probably will wind up being okay.
Hasn't the entire team gone? Well, I mean, the original rumor was that they were going, the Hanbit, whatever they're called, were going to retain the team.
Well, if it's Hanbit or someone else, like I don't know.
Well, they were going to retain the team, but the team's been
shut down
and scattered, and they're talking about maybe starting a new studio together.
Right.
I hope it works out.
Yeah.
That's the one I do hope work out. the one I'm confused about is why Namco would be worried about trying to step in and rescue Hellgate, although it was
they had money and they had skin in that game already. So
right, and this was going to be one of their steps into the PC world. Remember, once upon a time, they were like, we're going to make PC games.
Yeah, that was smart.
Zach Carlson, business development boss at Namco US, said, I know everybody is looking for an announcement, and we'd love to make one, but right now many things are in flux, and we don't have all the information yet. As soon as we do, we'll post it on the forums, on the website, and anywhere else you can find. In the short term, please do not worry. The game is up. For some of you who it works for.
For the 27 of you that have got it up and running and working.
Can actually use the executable.
The servers are not going away in the short term, and any major changes to status will be communicated in advance. And they've
Meanwhile, the servers are shutting down 2 weeks from now.
They have also, or tomorrow. They've also added a Hellgate homepage to Namco's site. But the funny thing is, as someone pointed out, wasn't there a rumor that Hellgate was somehow tied to some of the loans that Flagship had as like collateral, and so like some investment bank was winding up with them?
Well, that was the Handbit thing, wasn't it? Weren't they the equity?
I think that was Hellgate. Oh. I don't know. Anyway, it's all a mess.
They had a lot of money.
Namco, best of luck to you. One game that won't need any help at all, but and we all knew it. We've all talked about it a million times. It was finally confirmed in a Portfolio.com interview where John Riccatello positively said, yes, that other MMO of theirs is the Knights of the Old Republic game. Shock and surprise. Anyone... comments?
I think we talked about that like 2 years ago on this spot.
A lot of people didn't believe us.
We were right.
A lot of people didn't believe us.
Right.
Like, really, big surprise.
Vindication.
Vindication is ours.
Eat it. Yeah. One to us.
Woo! The exclusivity wars continue in music games, which is quite disappointing.
From the grave, even.
I know, from the grave. Although I can't say that I am not excited about getting to rock some Purple Haze live, or The Wind Cries Mary in Guitar Hero or Rock Band or wherever. I mean, it's going to be in Guitar Hero, but
Jimi Hendrix
I don't care where it is.
His family must be rich.
Yeah. He's also going to be a playable character in Guitar Hero.
That I think is awesome.
That is really cool.
Wasn't he a boss in Guitar Hero 3?
Jimi Hendrix in the Guitar Hero, like Chuck E. Cheese deformed animatronic
Wait, wasn't he in Guitar Hero 3
No.
He wasn't. Wasn't there a Jimi Hendrix fucking lookalike?
Yeah, there's a side of a guy who looks.
There was
they have
a dude
a dude
with a fro. I mean,
Henry Mendrix was a great character in Guitar Hero 3.
Himi Gendrix. Himi Gendrix was awesome. So he's going to be in
I hope
Guitar
this
Hero.
is a catalyst for more Hendrix. Because, I mean, just 2.
Yeah. They actually said that. They said that there will be additional downloadable content following the game's launch.
So many song packs you can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Did you see the new one that they have coming out that's like Satriani's in it?
Yeah.
Steve Vai.
Steve Vai's in it, and Buckethead.
I hope the Steve Vai one lets me play 2 guitars at the same time. Or that one he had that was like a big heart that had 3 necks. Remember that one?
Have you guys ever seen there's like these YouTube videos of this guy who takes videos from like famous guitarists playing, but he re-records the guitar so it sounds like shit.
Oh God, they're awesome.
Are you doing a blog post tomorrow, Skip? I'll send you the links. Like,
maybe,
to some of
you
they're
just,
so awesome.
You can just show the Rock Revolution from
the Konami Rock Revolution.
But the guys faking it are clearly very, very talented.
Yes,
because
it's timed perfectly.
To fake it this well, you've got to be able to play it in the first place.
The first time they sent me one was Steve Vai, and I was like, I mean, I knew he was well-known guitar player. I'm not instantly familiar with him, but I was hearing, I was like, this sounds like shit. Like, what's going on? And he's like, oh wait, let me show you the real video. But like, this guy has like millions and millions of hits. It's awesome.
How come they haven't done Yngwie yet?
I would imagine because
too much money.
Yeah, he's.
Oh come on, he's not.
Where's my ABBA?
He is a strange person.
He's a very strange person. I mean, anyone that plays classical music turned into heavy metal,
and a gigantic ego.
Does he?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, that might be the problem. But I think Yngwie would be perfect for that. One of the next couple of stories tie into a bigger subject that's starting to emerge in the video game space, which is user-created content, and how user-created content is going to potentially allow the people who make the content to get paid. It's a very controversial subject. The first part of the story comes from a slip by Sony Computer Entertainment Europe president David Reeves, who, in speaking to a
king
PS3
of the slips, actually, David
he's pretty
Reeves.
good at it. He is pretty good at it. He said that what they're trying to do with Little Big Planet is almost iTunes meet eBay in the sense that once an individual or developer has qualified by producing certain levels of certain add-ons, they'll be able then in the future to exchange these and make money out of them. And he went on to say, even if you charge less than €1, it doesn't take many downloads, and you've got a pretty strong income coming from
Velocity Girl realizing the PS3.
Is this the first instance of the Velocity Girl promise being fulfilled?
Educate me, the Velocity Girl promise.
From the Microsoft press conference in 05.
Oh.
Jay Allard's famous
I thought
pipe
Velocity
dream.
Girl was going to paint skateboard decks.
And T-shirts.
I thought she was designing
T-shirts.
It's T-shirts for Sackboy instead of Tony Hawk.
This
It's
is
going to be beautiful.
This is the first time we've ever heard of creating content and monetizing that content.
Yeah.
On
Yes.
a personal scale.
Well, I mean, we've heard of it from X&A.
Right.
I mean,
Which is what we're going to talk about in a second. Now, this is huge because Little Big Planet, there is like a question there. I mean, the whole idea was that you'll be able to create content, put it up on the web, share it with people, have all this stuff going on. But are there going to be
Why
people...
do I have to pay for it?
they confirmed that.
Well, I don't know. Why do you... That's a great question.
Why don't I just
said-
make it for free and download other people's for
maybe
free?
you can choose to whether you
What if someone who's incredibly talented is making great stuff and plowing a lot of time into it?
I thought the plan was to release the demo and then release a disc version where you
that-
take all the
that
best
went
stuff from
away.
your slave labor.
That went
No?
away. But
Okay.
then just this week, in response to this, they did confirm that Little Big Planet content will be free.
Right, and as a matter of fact, I contacted Sony and got the same. I got the exact identical quote. The quote from them is, CEE and Media Molecule can guarantee that all consumer-generated content will be free at launch. We know how important this is to the LBP community, and what we want most is for people to enjoy playing, creating, and sharing their content.
Key phrase there is at launch.
Right. Yeah, of course it's the key phrase. And and so what I did was I went and looked at this and compared it to the way that user-created video has started to grow. This is a really, really immature economic model, and there's lots of ways people are looking at it. But the first thing you have to do is build enough community that if you add a small slice that goes back to the creator, that they actually start to make something. And this is something, and you go to the biggest ones out there, YouTube, not a lot has been made out. I mean, there's been a lot made out in the tech world, but I don't know that we've all picked up on it. YouTube does have a partners program now where they're paying the people who are top creators of really great content. Now, they're doing it through advertising.
Yeah, but you have to have like a ridiculous amount of page views to get any kind of money out of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like cents.
Yeah, you have to have millions to get anything.
Do you think there won't be Little Big Planet creators who are so good they're making really fantastic content? I mean,
Well,
Sure, there
but, I mean,
will
it's all-
be.
but the thing
It's
with the
an
YouTube
interesting
thing,
question.
It's all about scale. I mean, like
It's all about scale. I agree.
It's greed
They
meets
didn't do it-
creativity. You
this
have
is-
to be good at it.
Little Big Planet's fundamental problem on every level is that this is a game that needs to be going out to an awful lot of people that have PS3s.
Right.
And its biggest challenge is that, I mean, in a lot of ways, instead of harvesting a huge install base, they're kind of leaning on it to create a huge install base. I mean, they're putting a lot of pressure on this game, and it would be much better served by, if the PS3 was in the position the PS2 was, to then throw out a game and these kinds of initiatives when you've got like tens and tens of millions of people playing and participating, because everyone has a browser and you can buy a video camera for $150. But the whole PS3 thing, I'm not sure. And then there's lots
Don't you think they'll watch that though?
Well, couldn't you just have like the every PS3 sold past this fall, the pack-in game is Little Big Planet installed on the hard drive?
That would be fantastic.
That would be.
I think it's
freaking
such an untested realm of console gaming that maybe it's a baby step, maybe it won't be the industry-wide thing we expect. But
I also worry
gotta
that
start somewhere.
Little Big Planet is going to become this platform for testing a lot of ideas, because I got to think, how long before we get the fucking Burger King beach ball and the branded stuff dropped into Little Big Planet?
I don't know. It's a good question.
People
right?
download that shit, themes and pictures for
Yeah.
Xbox
I mean,
Live.
I think-
And on that same subject, there's plenty of people buying 99-cent iTunes songs all damn day long.
Right. I think what's so exciting about Little Big Planet is we really don't know what's going to happen,
Yeah.
and it's been a long time since it's been a new genre like that.
So I totally get the reaction, and the reaction on our message boards to this, especially the part that I spelled out about how it relates to the video systems, has been really, really divided. There's some people who are very, altruistic and very much on this, this was all about being creative. It's all about, sharing the love. And then there's definitely people who see the other side of it, like, hey, if these guys really rise to the top, then maybe they deserve compensation. This is going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting to watch it develop. And even on a bigger scale, or on a different sort of game creation scale with the Ncaa Xbox Community Games system. So announced at Game Fest is that Ncaa creators who are members of the Creators Club will be able to make games and sell them in the Xbox Live Marketplace for 360. They'll be able to charge either 200, 400, or 800 points, and they'll get up to 70% of that revenue in their pockets. That's a huge number. That's a huge, huge number.
Until it sells a lot of copies and then it changes, flip-flops. Like Microsoft did that with Xbox Live Arcade, where they've changed the revenue.
I remember that. The revenue sharing
I mean,
model changed about a year and a half into it.
Yeah, I mean they've burned a lot of bridges there. I mean, are they going to do the same thing with Ncaa?
I don't know. That's a question for down the road. But let's look at this like for right now where it stands. They in the beta they've had a large number of games. I think they're up to what did Chris say? Chris Setchell told me I think 60 games that they've had that actually passed. One of the things that they like about it is because of the peer review system, games are able to get completed, approved, and onto the system very rapidly.
It's very fast. Yeah.
So you're being approved by your peers. They're going to eventually add in a weighting system where as you review games and become a more respected member of the community, your vote counts more. So maybe it takes 3 or 4 votes from highly regarded members or 15 or 20 votes from lesser regarded members. And the set up to 70% is that they're also going to market these games on live. So if they're marketing your game, they're going to take a marketing cut between 10 and 30%.
No achievements on these games, though.
No achievements.
So achievement whores need not apply.
Dude, they've got to leave something out there for professionals, because where is this going to leave professionals? I mean, I think it's going to put some of the niche studios that were just there to make arcade games in a tough spot. I mean, what do they do? How do they compete with this? We have achievements.
Charge 1,200 points.
The only answer that Chris really had was, well, they're going to be more polished, and it's going to push them to be more polished and create a really, really better.
Yeah, but if they've changed their revenue stream, what's the incentive? Why not just develop for PSN?
Because maybe they sell 100,000 instead of 10,000.
That's true.
But going back to the rest of his argument, if you're making, let's say you make a 400-point game, that's $5. If you make 70% of that, you're getting roughly like what, $3? $3, you sold 10,000. That's $30,000.
Yeah,
and it's not inconceivable to sell 10,000 in a space of how many people are alive?
10 million or 5 or 6 million.
5 or 6 million.
Yeah,
10,000 is a pretty small percentage.
Yeah,
not a bad deal. Going on to the rest of the Game Fest announcements we have real quick. Games for Windows Live finally goes free.
Finally
goes free, and now
is it too late?
I don't know. That's a great question. Is it too late?
And
what I don't understand is why don't they have
the sound of indifference there?
Right.
Yeah.
That was the reaction of a lot of people.
I'm fine with Steam.
My main concern, Steam is a standalone program. Why is GFW Live still not a standalone program? Why is it still tied into games? You have to be in a game to be able to use it.
Right.
It defeats like most of the functionality that's built
it's not
into
a community.
the system.
It doesn't let you boot up
Yeah.
and see what
Honestly,
your friends are up to.
Steam is sort of slotted into being the de facto system. I mean, like the stuff this week when they announced the Watchmen game. I mean, like the name-checked download service was Steam, not games for Windows.
Absolutely not. And they are adding a marketplace that they will be rolling out this fall. They didn't have a lot to say about that. Sean Elliott had an interview with.
Well, they've talked about like if you've bought games on like Xbox Live Marketplace, you'll be able to then like for free.
Eventually.
That's
not something that's in the initial rollout, evidently, though.
Really.
I don't know. Kevin was unclear about that. I think that there's
They're probably
some
still
questions
deciding
about Marketplace that haven't been answered.
That's a lot of money for Microsoft, and they like making it.
Doesn't this put them in a really tough position with 360 still being a for pay service? Because their argument all along was, well, in the console space, people pay for online gaming. Oh, really? How much do you pay for a PSN?
I was going to say,
Shane, how much do we pay for playing on the PlayStation Network?
Nothing.
Especially since
it is free. I'm saying about
Well, especially since they've like matched like 80 to 90% of the functionality now with PSN. Like,
but if you want to get on the Resistance 2 beta, you've got to.
No,
you got to watch Core.
You don't.
Well, you don't.
Then James Stevenson has gone out there and released a statement. There's going to be many, many ways to get into it.
All right,
good,
cool. Thanks, James.
I mean, they'll probably get in like a couple days early.
Okay.
So I think that puts them in a really awkward position with Xbox Live. So there you go. And who knows? Maybe part of what you're paying for with Xbox Live is bizarre, very bizarre Hollywood short film projects like this one that was announced at Comic-Con that I have to say is one of the more interesting announcements I've read in a long time. Filmmakers James Gunn and producer Peter Safran have partnered up to make a short film pilot project that'll be coming to Xbox Live. These short films will all be free downloads or streams, and they've recruited a number of high-profile horror movie directors to make comedies.
Is Eli Roth among them?
They have James Wan, who did Saw and Death Sentence, David Slade, who did 30 Days of Night, Lucky McKee, who did The Woods, Andrew Douglas, The Amityville Horror, Marcus Nispel, who did the
all noted for their comedic timing.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Friday. That's the fucking bizarre. It's like what a weird garage
Those
films
dudes
project.
in 30 Days of Night, they could deliver a joke.
I know. It's just, it's going to be completely freaking bizarre. I have no idea what's going to happen.
We don't have to pay for it. So
that's kind of the question.
What do we have to bitch about?
So what do you guys think? Do you ever wonder? I mean, this is
I'm most surprised by the platform that they're choosing to distribute through.
Right.
I mean, Xbox Live Video Marketplace, from what I understand, is the #1 movie content digital distribution system in the world.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a cool place to distribute. But are we paying for this? I mean, is this like are our Xbox Live fees bankrolling this thing?
Probably.
I don't know. It's like, do I care? I mean, I think it's
not
fun.
like we're
I think
paying
it's a
for
fun.
dedicated servers.
They could be good. We'll see.
Yeah, but I just as well see it on IFC. I mean, this is like something I would expect to see on like IFC is the independent film channel,
right.
It's like a premium movie channel on your satellite or whatever. What an odd, strange thing. Interesting, but odd.
Business makes for strange bedfellows.
Oh, thank you, Wordsworth. It's fantastic. All right, on that note, folks, we are going to take this thing to the house.
It's been a long show.
Well, we got a really late
We
start.
got 3/4 of the way through the whiskey.
No, but even with the late start, we're too...
You're only making it longer.
Yeah.
We did E3. All right, let's get the hell out of here, folks. For Andrew, Shane, David, John, thank you for joining us. I'll be late. We can be here next week?
Yeah, I'm going to be late again then.
All right, that's fine. John will be here again next week. This is Garnet saying come join us at boards.oneup.com. Until next week, we are Ghost.